Hey everybody, it is June 22nd, Wednesday of 2022. That's a bad way to put those specific numbers in an order. And that is the start of a cavalcade of awful mistakes that is going to be made because Nick is not here today.
I can't wait to make a mess in someone else's house.
I am Quinn, your host, and I am joined by the excellent, the effervescent, the always fantastic Austin Yorski.
I'm here. That's a lot to live up to. I'm really excited about making a mess. I'm just going to Tasmanian devil through Nick's stuff. I'm going to just get food everywhere, leaving wrappers behind, just completely trash his entire scene. And it'll come back like the Donald Glover pizza gif, and I'll have done my job.
Yeah. Now, there is an important thing to note. I believe you listened to last week's episode, so you know that you do have a particular amount of power in this episode.
I do, yes. So there's a couple of responsibilities that have dropped into my lap about the future of this show, which is very exciting. Although there have also been a number of constraints. I was told I'm not allowed to talk about My Hero Academia because, quote, I'll get too horny about some of it.
I was like, look, he's going to be ridiculous. He's all over the place. I think the battle is taking place in Florida. He's just going to start talking about Epcot Center, and it's just the whole thing all over again.
You're trying to keep the Jiro lovers apart, and we will conquer. We will win in the end.
Are you a big Jiro fan?
I mean, I'm not so much for waifu culture, but if I had to.
Neither is Nick, to be clear. I believe his relationship with Jiro is 100% parental. He looks upon her as a child.
No, I can't co-sign that.
Oh, you don't see that? You have one child in your life, and that is your cat, who's the best cat in the world. And anyone who disagrees is wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm too old. I'm crusty. I'm not getting horny for comic book characters anymore. But I was a high schooler once, and any kind of rocker chick is it lights something in my heart, and I have to be honest about that.
Were you were you big into like Avril Lavigne and stuff like that?
No, I wasn't into Avril Lavigne. I was into like Lamb of God, Slipknot, Deftones. I was like metal mostly.
And that's what you were horny into?
I was horny for girls who were into metal. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I brought up Avril Lavigne as like a specific female musician, and then you mentioned like a bunch of 50-year-old bald dudes with beard, and I was like, all right, Austin's type's different from what I remember, but I'm happy for him.
Avril Lavigne, I mean, it's not. I don't have anything against her, but we would have been like, oh, that's like bubblegum punk. That's not like real hard shit.
Real for you. You're like, I'm too tough for this.
Yeah, I mean, there should have been more female bands in that space. I think Paramore, the lady from Paramore, is like the one that comes.
Williams, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, Evanescence obviously was a little before the time I'm thinking of, but in that vein. But mostly, like I think of the the girls.
Toto, Tattoo, was that it?
Tattoo is a Russian lesbian pop band.
Yeah, look. I only know them. As everything comes back to wrestling, they did the theme song for a wrestler.
It's so funny to think of them in the same conversation as like Avril Lavigne. They were completely manufactured, like propagandistic, like band. Eventually, they got in trouble because they revealed they weren't actually lesbians, and one of them was homophobic. In fact, it was a whole thing.
I don't like this at all. Can I rewind time to 5 minutes ago before you rip something away from me that can never be returned?
I feel like I end up talking about Tattoo every couple years for some reason. I don't know why. I was just gonna say all the girls like Jiro went to school with, they were into My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy, and there's a third band in that trio, Panic at the Disco.
Oh, okay.
Who I think are all still around in some capacity. I think their lineups have changed, but
Paramore's still around. I think they just lost one of the band members. Because I have some of their songs recently. 3 years ago. Panic at the Disco came back. And what was the third one? Evanescence?
No, of those. My Chemical Romance.
Yeah, they just came back, right?
They just came back, okay. Yeah. Laura Kate Dale, our mutual friend, was at the concert. Yeah Yeah Yeahs also are back. They have a new song, and that's
Oh.
another in that space. Anyway, do you want to do a music podcast? Forget about all these little doodles and drawings.
You don't want to do a music podcast with me because it'll make you sad very quickly when you're like, I'm sorry, how much garbage do you listen to?
And we're like, oh god, Phil Collins corner again. Here we go.
I'm just saying, have we all really fully respected his early to mid Genesis catalog into his late catalog solo career? It's the entire thing. I'm just excluding the Tarzan soundtrack because Gen Z found a hold of it, and now it's overblown. Too many people like that now.
That gets its own episode in our music podcast, the Tarzan soundtrack.
It really is good. Look, this episode is going to be off the rails as it is already, primarily because I do not have the organizational structural skills that Nick does, and Austin is a chaos monster who is engineered for absolute anarchy. So as Austin alluded to, there are a couple series we're not going to talk about. I'm going to save them for when Nick comes back. My Hero,
Elusive
Samurai, and Boruto. And then there is no Eden Zero to talk about this week. There's currently a licensing issue going on with that. I think I heard we're supposed to get a chapter next week. And this chapter should come out at time as well. So stay tuned for that.
What kind of licensing issues could there be? No one owns the trademark for butts.
Well, that's what I was saying. If you want to experience Eden Zero this week, just imagine a picture of a butt. Or just look at a picture of a butt and then just imagine something really stupid happening. And you pretty much captured the entire essence of an Eden Zero chapter at that point.
You can't copyright that. None of that is... All that's public domain. Titties are out there. Everyone has that ownership of them.
That could be an interesting philosophical debate.
Yeah. The first day of my property law class, when I went to law school, we sat down and the professor just asked everyone, like, first thing, like, no preamble. She said, "Who owns the moon?" And that was the first day of property class, is us just talking about the philosophical question of who owns the moon, which is actually fascinating. You say, oh, they're the... Yeah. Well, the question is like, oh, there are treaties about who owns space, but how do you enforce them? Like, what if Luxembourg gets up onto the moon and starts, like, mining it? If we're like, oh, these are treaties. Like, what are we gonna do? Arrest them? They're on the moon. It's really fascinating. And then you get to basically you end up realizing property is an illusion. It's just an agreed upon hallucination.
Huh. This is pretty big. I had someone try to mind fuck me the other day because they were like, yeah, dude, when you're up really high, time flows differently. So, like, time is a meaningless metric. And I was like, stop it. I don't want this to continue because it's either going to end up me angry or me being so, like, mind shattered that I can't process anything. I'm just like, I'm just spitting on the ground. Like, it doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah, a lot of things are just socially agreed upon. It doesn't mean they're not real. Time does exist in a sense, but it's also fake. It really is fake. Whoa.
This is big stuff. Speaking on the idea of time being fake and killable, let's talk about Undead Unluck.
Set you up perfectly.
There we go. Number 115, Don't Leave Me. So we open with Nico, who has basically accepted himself into UMA Ghost. And Andy's just like, what the fuck? He assimilated with them? He didn't say what the fuck. It'd be kind of dope if he did. He just started swearing. He's like, holy cunt burgers.
Yeah, the translators having a little bit of fun. Someone said normies in one of these chapter, and I was like, yeah, I don't know if that's what the original meaning was, but okay.
There was, I'm reading some comic books recently, and there's a couple characters who I believe are supposed to be teenagers having a mental conversation with each other. And they kept shooting, like, Zoomer words back and forth at each other. Like, they were just like, oh, this is, I know they used the word cringe and something else in there. And I was just like, I don't like this. I know that this was written by, like, a 40-year-old man. Like, I don't like any part of this.
I really hope we see a chapter of One Piece where Luffy calls something chuggy. That's when we know we've officially conquered culture.
I thought that was a fake thing. Like, was that not a fake term that someone made up and said that Zoomers are calling millennials chuggy?
See, here's the thing. We just wrapped it back around to our time conversation. What's the difference between something being real and being fake? There's no difference.
All right, guys. Well, we've looped it around. I hope everybody enjoyed Week of Manga Recap this week.
Yeah.
Uh, so Andy is just like, holy crap, what's going on? The spheres around him have changed, and suddenly, unavoidable and unchange are a lot stronger. He's like, holy crap, these guys have gotten a power boost. But he notes that Chikara has a little sphere in his chest, hasn't glown. So he's like, all right, that one hasn't changed, but the other two have because those two are actually dead. So they get stronger basically now that he's bonded with UMA Ghost. So Nico starts to explain why Union just has a soul army essentially sitting in this tank. And it's to make up for Union's dwindling resources. They've contemplated replicating the powers of those who have fallen in battle, and its development was done here. But they couldn't get the combined intellect of the dolls to function correctly, basically. So, they can be simple-minded, kind of like the ones we see with Chikara and Juez, but the other ones are more powerful now because they have a soul. We cut to a flashback, pseudo-flashback. We don't get the black border, but Nico is basically trying to remember a scene that's very important where he's talking to Ichiko, where she's just like, hey, look, we've done everything we can, but there's some things beyond the realm of science. Everything kind of needs a soul. And Nico's just like, yeah, you were right. You were always right. And now our research has finally borne fruit. A new rule ghost has made this possible. And Andy's just not doing super well. So he's like, I got to find the weakness in this. And he shoots some of the pods that are off to the side. And some of the illusions start to become distorted a little bit. Nico grabs his head in pain. He's just like, And we cut back to another scene of Ichika being like, you've been acting real strange, like conducting research on souls. I told you that's beyond the capabilities of silence. And she's like, is it because I'm unsleep and I don't have much time left? And she's just like, science is meant to benefit the living. And Nico just interrupts her like, are you going to leave me all alone? And she stops and motions to her belly and says, you're not going to be alone. Which is interesting because this entire encounter has happened without really mentioning the fact that Nico has a daughter. We know he does, but that has been a part that has not really come up too much in this entire interaction. And Andy gets overwhelmed by all the different things, and he just says, I finally caught you. They may be using abilities based on pseudoscience, but you did well against four negators, but now I have to reap your soul. And Andy just says, I know you're suffering, Nico. Every time this lab gets destroyed, every time your inventions get destroyed, it causes you to suffer bad. This place is packed with a bunch of precious memories. You wouldn't be able to keep yourself together without this place, because if you weren't surrounded by the memories of your wife, you would end up forgetting her. And he cuts off his arms, and he's like, I've already decided everyone's getting a bad ending in this loop except for me. So he just fucking shoots blood cannons and destroys all of Nico's hard work, destroying what little memories he still has of his wife.
It's a pretty good ending, panel there. The art that was really, it's a good framing, I think. I don't know much about art criticism here. Maybe I'm not the best person to talk about this, but I remember practicing perspective. When I saw this, I was like, hell yeah, that's a sick way to end the chapter.
Yeah, it's very good. It sucks for Nico, although he kind of sucks right now too. So I don't feel as bad as like I did with Rip, but I do like that we're just continuing Andy's run of like, yeah, I'm going to fuck everyone's day up. I'm sorry. Next loop, it's all going to be fine. I promise you. Everyone's going to be okay next loop, but this loop it sucks to suck. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty classic trope of the time loop story is that once you realize like what the stakes are, you start like speed running it to get efficiency before the final one. It's like the Groundhog's Day where he's just being fucking rude to everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a pretty good implementation of that. I don't know how you're feeling about the dead wife guy, which is such a trope now. I just seen what was the Shang-Chi movie as a classic dead wife guy scenario. The villain there, it's like if your wife dies, you just become Joker-fied in popular culture.
It is definitely a thing. I will say I at least appreciate with the way they explain Nico's power of just being literally unable to forget anything, starting with his wife dying to that point. So being unable to capture anything before that, really beyond like, brief whispers and like that slowly fading as more information piles on top of it. And even then, he was a good guy basically until a new rule got added that was like, hey, this is a chance to maybe see your wife again. It's like, God damn it. All right, fine. I guess I'll go sicko mode.
I'm just saying, has he tried Tinder? Just try it. Just see. I don't know.
I don't
Before you
know.
commit.
He stabbed a bunch of like fucking nodules in his face. I don't know. Tinder might be rough for him.
I want to see like the aftermath of one of these stories where the bad guy like does his insane plan and gets his wife back, and then it's like they're back at home and he's like, "Oh, I so much have I suffered. You have no idea what the lengths I've gone to for you." And then she's like, "Can you pick up your laundry off the floor?" And she's like,
He goes sicko mode again. No.
just like once you have to go back to domestic normal life, how do you? I don't know how you just like ease back into the routine and not just being like, you are going to ask me to visit your parents after what I did? Like,
What do you mean you're cold? I should be able to set the thermostat at whatever level I want.
Yeah, it just completely unbalances the relationship.
I destroyed an ancient Asian realm for you.
Yeah, it just no one ever talks about that. That's what I want to see. Sorry, that's off topic, but that's really what this inspired in me.
I should add, as a little side note, there was a news piece. I think it was at the end of the chapter that said, in 2 chapters for Undead Unluck, they are going to be entering I believe the terminology used is final fight, which some have taken to mean Undead Unluck is going to end very soon. However, other people pointed out that that is the same terminology used for Promised Neverland ending its final chapters. So, and then that ran for like 17 more chapters. So there's a very real possibility this Undead Unluck probably ends this year. It might end relatively soon, or it might end maybe at like the tail end of the year, maybe early next year, something like that. So it is worth noting, but it makes sense after the last time loop. They really can't go anywhere else. So
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the turnover rate in the magazine is just getting faster and faster. Everything's accelerating. I remember when people were like, "Oh, Demon Slayer is selling just like better than oh, it's over." It's like
it's done. It's gone.
Where'd it go? And then the fucking Chainsaw Man was similar. I guess they're bringing that back, but also it's just like, oh, this is about to break into the mainstream. I can't wait to see that's over too.
Yeah. But it's literally about to happen now, as we'll get to. The expectation, Mashle has a special announcement in like 2 chapters or something like that, and the theory right now is that it's going to get an anime. Mashle was also very clearly in the last arc of its series, so it is going to get an anime like as soon as the series is done. So
I'm interested in the business reasons behind that. I know we got to move on to the second thing we're going to talk about, but
no, we don't need to.
Okay.
We have complete control. Nick can't stop us.
I'm just curious if just like people have so many entertainment options these days that they just have metrics that say people drop off of series faster, and that we just need constant new like premieres rather than trying to do a One Piece, like which is like a once in a generation kind of long runner, but we used to get a couple per generation.
I think the larger thing right now is authors potentially having a little bit more control over their own work, to the sense of they can say like, hey, I'm going to end. Now, in Undead Unluck's case, I think it is mostly because the series has sort of peaked and started to slide down in popularity. So there's really no reason. Sort of one of those things like, look, you can either end yourself or we just cancel you. Like, it's one of those 2 things. But in series cases like Chainsaw Man, and I guess even maybe Black Clover, although not really, Black Clover is still running technically, but like with Chainsaw Man, Fujimoto could just be like, yeah, I don't really want to do it all the time. I just kind of want to flow to my own schedule. So it is definitely an oddity when you talk about a series like Mission Yozakura Family technically being like the 5th longest running series in the magazine, and it's like 2.5 years old or something like that. Everything else has just kind of come and gone. But like some series like My Hero are still running at like 400 chapters, something like that.
Sure. Yeah, we could talk about industry trends more, but let's move on to the next one. I want to hear more recapping.
Yeah, let's talk about, because as I said, there's no Eden Zero, and we're saving Boruto for next week, so Nick can enjoy that. We're going to talk about Akane-banashi. And Now, this is a series that Nick normally recaps, so I will, full apologies, get every character's name wrong except for Akane herself, probably.
I was really dreading this. I was like, I listen to this show every week, and I have not internalized any of these names. Please, God, Jesus, Lord, don't let me have to recap any of this.
Austin, I'm going to pass it to you. Popcorn.
No. I will make all kinds of butt jokes, and I will talk about all kinds of themes and motifs. But if I have to remember a single name, I will crumble.
Oh, okay. I thought that was your threat. Was I'm going to talk about butts and philosophy. I was like, I think the audience probably would love that. It sounds like something they'd be all about.
I hear that about your audience all the time.
It's partially your audience too, buddy. You can't escape it. I listen to DiceFunk. I heard you guys talk about butts. Story 18, Shut It. So we open with the guidance counselor who is congratulating Akane, being like, good job, you made it through the first round, basically. And, like, oh, well, take a good rest and gather your strength for tomorrow or whatever. Like, the one older senior dude whose name I've forgotten is like, she sounds like a sports coach, which is mildly amusing because I do just like the idea. She's like, well, I'm the only adult in this room, so I suppose I have to make sure these kids are eating and getting like fucking actual nutrition and shit. Akane asks where Kagama went, and she's just told he left. He said, I don't think it matters if I say anything to you afterwards, so I'm going home. And I relate to that.
I was literally about to say extremely relatable, where people were like, why haven't you texted me in months? And I was like, what difference could a single word from me make? Who am I? It's like, what do you do? Shut up.
I was just in the mindset of like, yes, I too like to Irish exit a lot of scenes. I'm done with this. Goodbye.
Yeah. Dudes rock.
Yeah. So Akane is just like, oh, hey, shit. I think I forgot my phone. Oh, actually, no. Before she does that, she basically just talks like, oh, yeah, I think he does care about you in his own way or whatever. But she, she's just like, oh, yeah, I was able to do Jugamo because I was doing it since I was a kid. I learned it from my dad, like at 4 or 5 years old. At that time, it was just like a time twister, or a tongue twister. Time twister would be dope.
That's a very expensive magic card.
Very, very expensive. Austin, what does Time Twister do for the audience? I want to start a running counter. Number of times Magic the Gathering comes up on this episode.
All right, so it's a blue card from very early in the game. It basically resets the game state. You shuffle your hand and graveyard into your library. Everyone does, and you draw 7 cards, which is your opening hand. So it's like you're going back to the beginning. That's Time Twister. Let's do a quick googly-roo, see how much one would cost if you wanted to buy it.
I'm gonna say 10,000.
Let's see, the 5,500.
That's a steal then.
That's a steal based on the metric you made up.
Is that a reserve list card?
Oh yeah, definitely. Which is why it's so expensive, because they're not going to reprint it.
So we get a shot of Akane walking with her dad. It's very, very sweet. And of course, the guidance counselor is like, cool. Then when he comes tomorrow, and Akane very quickly is just like, oh no, he won't be there. He's off in Tokyo right now doing a work assignment. And it's always very interesting to see these small nuggets of Akane's relationship with her dad, as we haven't seen them interact at all since the first chapter. And it's very interesting to kind of parse together exactly how her dad feels about her doing Rakugo and what her relationship with him is like. I don't know, it's very fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting choice, because I feel like a lot of shonen stories would make it more explicit, or more. There's a running thing. Every shonen dad is terrible. Like it's like the worst dad awards. But like right now, I think there's genuine mystery about like their relationship, which I do find compelling, and I want to learn more.
Absolutely. So Akane is like, oh shit, I left my fan. So she's like, I gotta run back. And we leave with the guidance counselor and the older sensei, who's, this counselor is like, if she wins, she gets a chance to sit down with Arakawa, and that's going to be a huge benefit to her success as a Rakugoka. And the sensei's like, hey, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but it's not right if you're the only one who doesn't know. So he goes on to explain that the only reason, we don't see it, but he's going to explain that the only reason Akane is doing this is to basically confront Arakawa, to be like, why didn't you fucking pass my dad, you dumb piece of shit? So, the guidance counselor now. Now everybody is in on the loop. Akane gets back, finds her fan, time to get going, but you hear someone screaming in a very distinct accent. Oh, shut it! I told you I was going to win this tournament today and tomorrow. Yes, Rakugo. That's why I gotta focus.
You got that from the text? I mean, I know it's definitely an accent, but I was trying to get it in my head because I don't know Japanese accents. What is a Kansai region accent? You know, so
Isn't it always supposed to be like? It's not like that. That was just me trying to channel like Larry the Cable Guy.
It's funny you went there because that's exactly where I was gonna go. Where she's like, I have to hide my accent. I have to be a city girl to make it in this industry. And I was like, aren't regional acts usually like a particular draw? Like the Blue Collar Comedy Tour was the biggest thing when I was growing up. I don't know if it's different in Japan.
Well, you also lived in Florida where it made sense.
Sure. You know what? Walked right into that one. I don't know. I just think of that. Unless Japan is very different, I feel like city people have this. There's like an element of exoticism where if you have like a weird accent, they might like you more.
For Americans or foreigners or things like that, I think in Japan it's just seen as, and I don't know this for certain. I've only parsed what I've learned from basically media about Japan and things like that. But as she even sort of explains it a little bit, I think there's just a level of embarrassment that sometimes goes along with it. Not embarrassment, but like judginess, especially when she is trying to carry herself as this sophisticated, metropolitan figure who is trying to get into like very big roles of like classical acting and things like that. So I imagine if you had somewhat of like a country twang, it would come off as a detriment if people perceived you that way.
Yeah, I hope they get more into this. I do think this is an interesting concept, and I want the manga to tell me, the white person, the American, if I'm a fucking idiot and don't know what I'm talking about, or if maybe she is actually doing, something that she probably shouldn't do. Maybe people would like her more. Because if you're hiding, who you are from people, I feel like if people can sense that, like you're being deceptive or evasive. And there's even that moment where you'll get to in a second where her personality kind of changes. And it's like, that's what lying does to your soul. It makes you into a villain.
Oh no. She does have her eyes closed when she says it. She's basically Gin from Bleach and every other bad character who never opens their eyes. Brock from Pokemon.
The worst.
Yeah.
The most evil character in fiction. Brock from Pokemon.
Yep, he's a bad guy. Akane has walked in as, I believe Hikaru is her name, is talking and eventually realizes Akane is looking at her. And she's like, oh shit. And she immediately shifts into a more like formal tone. Like, I think that's your fault, mother. And she's like, what the fuck? I thought this place was empty before I started this call.
Code switching. Yeah. Fascinating concept.
She's like, fuck, did she hear my accent? I gotta calm down. Gotta act like nothing's wrong. And she's like, oh, did you need something? And Akane is super excited. She's like, oh, I've never heard anyone talk that fast. Sounds so cool. Where's that dialect from? You're so awesome. And immediately, Hikaru's just like, oh, well, I'm from, oh, God, Nick, why aren't you here to pronounce the Japanese word? Fukuoka?
Yeah, Fukuoka. That's what it looks like to me.
Sure, yeah. And Akane's just like, oh, I think your dialect sounds really cute. And Hikaru's just like, in her mind, thinking like, shut up. I'm trying to pass the city girl, right? And Akane is just like, oh, yeah, you're a voice actor too, right? And you do Rakugo? Oh, you're so awesome. And Hikaru's like, oh, well, you're pretty special too. And she's like, oh, no, I'm not. My dad was just a Rakugoka, that's all. And she's like, oh, he taught you Rakugo? Like, no, I just kind of watched him and pick it up. I didn't actually get lessons until I went to my dad's master. And I actually kind of begged him to get into this event. So I got to do Rakugo tomorrow that won't put my master's name to shame. And she's like, oh, shit, I interrupted your phone call. I got to get going anyway. So she heads out. And Hikaru's just like, she's young, pretty, talented, highly regarded by Arakawa, and a second-generation Rakugo high schooler who studies under a professional. No wonder she thinks she can win with Jugemu. She knows she has the advantage. Interesting. Makes me feel so freaking pissed off.
And you have to imagine that switching back into the other accent because freaking doesn't is not
so freaking It makes me. I find my mind in an ADD sense, drifting back to when I watched Elysium, a series that coded the class struggle of people between people with regular voices and then everyone in the fancy Elysium place who talked in French accents. And I was like, "Yep, you got it. This is true art."
Yeah, it's the Matt Damon movie.
Yes.
Yeah, that was really weird. They also had like the Matt Damon is like the only white person in like LA basically. It's like all Hispanic people except for the villain who is South African. A lot of racial stuff to unpack in that particular film. And my favorite thing, one of the best climaxes in film history, when to save the day, Matt Damon gets on a computer and he changes everyone. He replaces everyone from like slave to free, and then when he hits confirm, it just fixes society.
It's all fixed now. They did it. The button.
It makes me so mad that Joe Biden won't do that. He has the big computer. He just has to find and replace.
He just has to hit enter.
It's already set up. You just gotta hit enter, my man.
So Akane is leaving. She passes by a student who's kind of crying because they lost and they're very sad about this. And God, what's his stupid fucking name? Jerkface. Jerkface shows up and he's just like, yeah, it really makes you feel like a student event, doesn't it? And Akane is just like, why do you show up out of nowhere all the time? And he's just like, it's just coincidence. By the way, your Jigemu was great. You did it as a trick, as a setup for later, right? And she's like, well, how did you? And he's like, yeah, I was guessing. So thanks for confirming it. On the other hand, if that was you trying your hardest, I think I'd lose all interest in you like that. And Kane's just like, oh no, if I would not complain if you did, not at all. Like if that was the best I could do was just doing it really, really fast, then who gives a shit, really?
Which is a great deflection to that burn. Yeah. Like it's like an incredible sniper shot, and she just casually deflects it.
So Jerkface is just like, yeah, I guess you're really up against the wall, and you did say that you would catch up to my level fast, so if that's all you intend to do, then you just can't win this event. You've got to blow away my master. And he just kind of leaves by being like, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Easier said than done, Akane. Let's see if you can actually tear Master's mask off. And we get sort of a collage of different people, Akane thinking about them and their words and things like that. Hikaru saying, I have to win. Jerkface being like, you can't just win this tournament. All these sorts of things. Akane just walks by a poster of Master Hikaru saying, I'll win tomorrow. I have to win or I won't have gained anything. And we close the chapter. It is presumably the next day because Master Arakawa is there and he's like, oh, this is quite the gathering we have here. So the final round is about to begin.
Akane stays winning. Most relatable character in Shonen Jump. Still a great series. What are we, 17 chapters in? 18 chapters?
18 chapters in.
No misses. Just hit after hit after hit. Bangers and slappers all the way down.
Bangers and slappers has to be a name of a meal at Denny's. Like they're trying like so an article must have come out that was like Gen Z is killing Denny's, and Denny's was like, how do we appeal to them? So we're still just Gen Z slang all the way down.
If you order a bangers and slappers, you have to sign a waiver though.
It's gonna be too intense.
Yeah, their insurance company wouldn't clear it otherwise. All right, good stuff.
All right, Austin.
I can't believe you. How could you have done this to me?
Because I both love you so much, and I just thought of that love, and I mixed the name up. It's like a parent getting the names of all their kids in a row.
Good save.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to do my own Jigamoo because we're going to be talking about Aliens Area, Number 3, Section 5, Foreign Affairs Division, Public Safety Bureau, Police Department by Fusei Nawa. Don't usually have to say goodbye,
that was
but
fast.
It was a long title for a dumb chapter. So we open with main character whose name I don't remember, and maybe I'll have to. All right, we're gonna find out at the end of this, who is introducing his his one normal sibling and one hideous abomination of a sibling to their new condo home. And it's got all this cool new stuff. It's got a stove with 3 burners. It's a lot of very small details that go to like kind of re-emphasize exactly the level of like squalor they were living in previously. Where he's like, holy shit, 3 burners on a stove? Like, this is crazy. I have room to wash dishes and cook at the same time. Like, yeah, man, I've been there too.
Also, I know I wasn't here last week, but when he gets fired from the ramen place and then he gets offered a government job and then he's like living in squalor, how do you not like just accept that on the basic money thing? I feel like he had to be taken on a mission. I don't know. That broke my suspension of disbelief, I'll say. I feel like he would have taken a job scrubbing floors in the department.
Potentially. I know I would have, but you know, what are you gonna do? He's like, wow, this is crazy. His siblings even note like, oh, it's because you got a new job, right? The old place had a gas explosion, and this is company housing for his new job. So our main character's like, yeah, cool. Like the mind wipe worked. They don't remember anything that happened. They just were told that his hand is injured, and that's it. And his youngest sibling's like, good thing our house exploded. And our main character has to be like, no, it's not. So, God, I feel like they have to say his stupid fucking name somewhere, but they don't. So I'm just gonna call him Jerkface McJerkface now. He goes to study real hard because he's got to learn everything there is to know about his work if he's gonna thrive. So we cut over to the next day. It's inside the headquarters of the police department. There's an elevator only accessible to someone with a certain key. And
The name is Tatsumi Tatsunami.
Tetsumi, thank you. It connects a level between underground floors 12 and 13 that shouldn't exist. This is just like Station 9.
Platform 9 and
Yeah,
3/4.
there you go.
I know. It's how you don't know how you wouldn't think of that. The same way when you see someone with something, an alien in their hand, you don't think of Parasite. When they talk about erasing memories, you think of Men in Black. Like, there's not a single panel of this that doesn't remind me of a different thing. I'm not trying to be a dick, but come on.
That's how you read the heart of Section 5. What was the name of the organization in Men in Black?
It wasn't just them Men in Black?
I thought there was a name for the actual like headquarters though.
It should be called the RIPD, the Rest in Peace Department. The other series that is exactly the same thing.
Oh man, that one was so bad.
I mean, it's also Hellboy, frankly.
Yeah.
There's big Hellboy vibes to this whole thing.
I like that. This is the new workplace. We're reintroduced to God. Everyone's name is bad, and I don't remember it, and I don't care. Mentor character who's like, yeah, you know, everyone here's talking about you, and this place is divided into different teams, and you're on my team. There's 10 teams, and you're on Team 7, known as Team Sharaku. In other words, you're on my team. And we're introduced to what is going to be the wider cast of Aliens area with our typical tropes of the cool one, the smart one, the girl one, and the eldritch fish monster one, which is like kind of a tale as old as time. I was kind of hoping they diversify this a little bit, but those are our other characters. Do you have any immediate thoughts, Austin?
I mean, I love Hellboy. I would love to read more Hellboy. I don't know what to tell you. If you have a weird hand and you work in a fucking government office of paranormal and you have a fish friend, like that's a great concept. Someone should do that. I don't know what to tell you.
Austin just subtly dunking all over this concept.
I'm not trying to be mean. Like some things are like other things. That's not necessarily bad. Yeah. I'm waiting for the thing about this to jump out at me as its own thing. Like, what is its special sauce that they're bringing to the party?
Well, do you think maybe it's because those pieces aren't as maybe Harry Potter and Men in Black and all that stuff isn't as big in Japan? So maybe they're like, fuck it. Like maybe fucking what is his name? Their name Fusai Naba was just like, oh fuck, I saw this thing called Men in Black. I don't think anyone else in Japan has ever seen it. I can just get away with this. No one will know.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what happened. There was an American comic artist who basically tried to do their own JoJo. I think it was called Diesel. where they just did JoJo like beat for beat, and they got away with it for a little bit before people noticed.
Before one
So
person was like, "Hey, wait a minute."
yeah, I don't know. I'm curious what the audience is feeling about this. Is this connecting with people? It's only 3 chapters
we
in,
we
but
won't really know too much of that. I think there's something where like sometimes they get like video promotions for new series, and you can gauge a little bit off of like the views that those have. But to be honest, we won't really know a good picture until about 8 chapters in, when it starts getting ranked, and then a little bit after that, when its first volume gets released. That's when you can usually very quickly tell if a series has any kind of real future to itself.
okay. On the other hand, maybe this is a good business model, and I should just like go to, Zimbabwe or something and find one of their popular stories and just do my own version in America, and no one will know that I'm just taking it. It just that you can launder other people's. That's just cultural appropriation. I've realized. I've just realized there's a term for this.
I was like, you would not be the first person to go to an African country, take everything from them, and just pass it all as yourself.
Oh man, I just invented colonialism with extra steps.
Yeah, sorry, bud.
It's on second thought, you just go nuts with it, Japan. Just take our shit. It's fine.
Men in Black wasn't that treasured. You can have it. So we're introduced to our new characters. There's Fukusuke Miwa, who does seem to be just kind of like the Spockish, like that would be logical as they push up their glasses. Ginji Inase, who I guess is hot-headed or something like that. We don't really get enough to get a full glimpse of the character. And then Yumiko Fujiko, who has a winter hat. She has a look, a distinct design, where she's wearing a mini skirt, flats, and a winter hat. And all of these pieces together is very odd to me. And she gets upset initially because everyone's fine of this person saying, hey, he isn't a panda. You don't have to like look at him. But then she's like, yeah, you know what? Get over here. I gotta test you basically because, can't just have you dying out there. You gotta be strong. So she's gonna test him out, and she says, all right, if you can defend against even one of my attacks, then you pass. And she activates the Equipment 1 sort of anti-gravity super speed thing, I think. I don't know. It seems different from other people, but that's what Equipment 1 was before.
Sure. I haven't got a good sense of the power sets going on yet.
Well, she's doing basically a flash step. She just like, zoop, zoop, and then she's like right behind, and she, goes to kick, and, she's just like, yeah, ultra fast movement, warp release. So Master Person's just like, yeah, I'm glad we gave her warp capability, and but is she even considering the batteries or anything like that? And just like, who cares? If you're not here, you're just gonna die to aliens. So if you can't keep up, don't bother joining.
Do you think the HR department here has like a special form for nothing personal kid attacks? Like, yeah, if someone appears behind you and strikes you, you got to do the pink one. Yeah. But if they hit you in the front, we got the green form.
Tatsunami thinks back to his siblings where he says, don't worry, I don't need reminding. And she goes to do like a flash step move where she's moved so fast it looks like there's like 5 of her. And Tatsunami's just like, Shiraku was right. On your first day at work, a coworker will probably try to test your abilities. When that happens, use your implant. And the implants are activated by triggering your fighting instinct. So you have to basically grit your teeth and bite down on the back of them. And then you summon something, basically make like 100 hands or something. I don't know. His arm shoots out, turns into many arms. And I'm just like, oh, that's it. You're really cool now. You used an implant release.
Yeah, I mean, his arm becomes a Resident Evil monster, basically, where it just grows and expands and splits up into a bunch of hands that all attack. Is this a Attack on Titan with the biting to activate your power, or is this a My Hero hurting yourself to activate your power? What do you think here was the inspiration?
I'm going to say it's a little of both. Both of them are highly influential at this point in time. It's kind of hard to ignore either one of them to a certain extent. But I would lean more towards I think probably more of a Attack on Titan thing, to be honest.
Yeah, I was thinking okay, I can't have him bite his hand because that's done. Biting his leg, the bend every time. That's weird. Biting your nose? No, that's not possible. Like he's just going through the things you can bite to activate your powers. Bite your belly button? Maybe. Well, let's try. Let's try it.
Every character looks like they're sucking themselves off when they transform.
You're telling me that wouldn't get an audience if there's a shonen series? Everyone has to self-suck to power up.
Self-suck.
And when the villain shows up, they're like, "Fuck! Don't mess with this guy. He doesn't even barely need to bend over at all." That's how they can gauge the power level of the self-suck series by how much they have to. Like the weakest guy is like, yeah, I have to get down on the ground and I need like to limber up first, or like then we'll take this guy out easily. But then the final villain is just like, I can just move my head 45 degrees and I'm already there.
I'm already sucking. Like, no, he's too terrible.
I've been sucking since I entered the room, you fool.
Oh no.
Sorry about this.
What else we've entered into?
So in other words, you and Nick are going to be forced to read the series forever.
Oh, is that so? That's the thing. This is now 3 chapters of this series. This is where we have to decide whether or not we're going to keep this series in the recap or not. Nick is not here to add his voice. I can only presume if he was here, he'd be in support of it. And I don't really care either way. So ultimately, the decision falls upon you, Austin.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it seems like it's made up of ideas from a bunch of other series, but mostly the series I like. And the thing is, it has to have some kind of unique hook coming eventually. I feel like when maybe we get more alien designs, that'll be like the make or break. If like this person, if the artist and author have like in their head some cool aliens to show us and cool powers, like I would be down for that. Right now, we're just doing a lot of table setting. It's nice they introduced a female character. She has kind of a cool thing. There's one like pose she does on was this page 19 where I was like that is the most personality any of these characters have shown, and I was like I kind of do want to see more of that. So
yeah.
In the end with the arm explosion, it's like if they have a bunch of cool powers where people's like have implants where they're fucking like ribs are biting people or whatever the fuck. Yeah, I would like to see that. So yeah.
All right. Well, that sounds like you're keeping it in the recap.
Unless Nick comes back and he's like, yes, it's in the recap. And like, I tricked you. Austin actually took it out. Just troll Nick. That's what matters.
I don't need to use my treasured money in the veto in the Brank beef case then. All right, cool.
Oh, see. So actually,
store it for another day.
It was never in doubt. You always were in control the whole time. You sucked before you even entered the room.
I've always been self-sucking, Austin. That's my trick.
Fuck. And that's how I lose. And I'm defeated in the self-suck series. What the fuck are we even talking about? What's the next one?
Let's talk about Blue Box. This is number 57. Well, I know. So, Taiki is in the middle of Go. I think his name's Hyodo. I'm going to go with Hyodo and just say, no. Yasa? Hyodo was the older one. Damn it. I wrote this down somewhere and I don't have time to find it. Somebody else will message me in the chat to let me know his opponent's name because I'm going to have to say it a lot in this chapter recap. The rally is currently going on. Taiki has already lost 1 game. And he's already Yusa, thank God. He's already down in the second game as well, so things are looking pretty bad. They're doing the big volley. We see Hina is just like, wow, Batman's like really hard. Well, she actually isn't saying anything. Her friend is, as she's just watching. She's like, wow, it really like tires you out. Keeping up with the shuttlecock, moving that fast is something else. And she just thinks, the Taiki I know usually looks like he's enjoying himself regardless of any setbacks. I've never seen him looking like this before. And, Taiki gets an opportunity, goes for a smash, but unfortunately, shuttlecock lands out. And that's a problem you've had quite a few times, Austin, correct?
I think you're trying to trip me up here. I have played badminton before.
Have you?
Yeah. I used to play tennis. I played a lot of sports in my time. Soccer, football, baseball.
You're
tennis
a jock.
I really was, yeah. When my knee exploded, I was like, I'm about books now.
You're
books
like,
now
read
forever.
Scrolls.
Yes, never again. But
There was a second brain in your knee that when it exploded, the main brain could take over. I was like, I like books now. I'm gonna play Fire Emblem all the time.
Absolutely. But all I was gonna say was badminton and tennis are so fucking hard. You have to constantly be moving. It's the biggest pain in the ass. With football, you get to take a break like every 8 seconds. At least on the line, you did. Maybe not if you're a wide receiver or something, but football for me.
You get to sit up there. You got to get to the line of scrimmage and just kind of take it easy for a little bit. And then if I Shield 21 has taught me anything, it's all about punching your opponent in the heart after that.
No, it's. Oh, baseball is also very good. You just so much of baseball is standing around. It rocks.
You read I Shield 21 at all?
No, I have not.
Oh, we need to get you to read I Shield 21 and then come on the show because I just want you to complain about everything that they get wrong. Where you're just like, Jumanji should have been out. His knee hit the ground before he crossed the line of scrimmage. This scene doesn't have any weight. It's all very dumb.
It's funny because if you follow our relationship parasocially, you'll know that you're constantly bullying me into getting into different things.
I am not.
You are constantly wedging me, and it's really working. Right now, we literally started Lost the other night, which is I've committed to 120 something episodes for you, and I'm watching One Piece for you.
I was gonna say I knew you were watching One Piece, and then I was told that you were watching Lost, and I was like, is Austin planning to kill and replace me? Is the game plan?
Yeah, what is it? It's like the butterfly meme, gesture of friendship. Is this a murder plot?
I just feel no one does this. Look, I watched the show Severance, and I was so excited to talk about it. I talked to it to like 100 people, and not a single fucking one of them watched the show, so I had someone to talk to it about. So I just I just exist on my own island, all the things I enjoy, no one else wants to get on board with. So I'm a little suspicious when someone's like, oh, I took one of your recommendations. I'm like, why? Am I dying? Do you know something I don't? Did a doctor from the note from the doctor show up that I didn't get and you got?
Yeah, I'm actually planning on watching Severance. Laura has been banging that drum for a while, but it's on Apple Plus or something, which I don't have access to. So I'm going to steal it eventually.
I thought I gave it to Joa. If not, I'll give it again.
Okay.
You should have access to it. We're
just on air talking about media piracy.
No, you can share it with a friends and family program, and you guys are family, basically.
Basically.
Yeah. Anyway.
Lost is good so far.
Oh, that's good. Oh, I'm going to definitely have to talk to you about Lost. Everybody knows, shit, that was a really big point Taiki just lost there because you lose a shot like that after a really long relay and it just affects you mentally. And he's already lost his first game, so at this point, it's there's no way he's going to last through a second one. Taiki has a moment. He's there. He's panting. It's very rough. And he just takes a long kind of inhale. And Chinasu is watching. He's just like, I'm starting to understand what Taiki was saying back then about how, it's either his credit if he wins or his fault if he loses. It's all kind of responsibility based on him. And she's like, I know how hard he's worked at all these morning practices. I just used to think hey, there's that kid who's always there. But he literally came every day. And, he would be there so early that I was like, all right, well, I'll just beat him there the next morning. And he would still be there. And he would even practice after his last game of junior high. And he was so impressive. Even on rainy days, everything. He never stopped, basically. And we see, as this is happening, Taiki is starting to kind of get a little bit of momentum going on. He manages to nail a shot. And Yusa is just it's uncanny. He is getting faster and faster as this is going on. And we get more of sort of Chinasu's thinking yeah, even on windy days, basically every fucking weather that possibly could happen, Taiki would still show up to do practice and everything like that. And, no matter what day it was, he never stopped moving forward. I know. And Taiki ends the chapter. He hits another big ace. Well, no, I guess not an ace, but another big point. Looks like he scores. This one lands inbounds. And it seems as though Taiki is mounting a comeback.
Yeah, this has almost like a poetic quality to it. it's hard to explain, but like the way that it repeats about the different weather and it's showing the action kind of intensifying and he's getting like sweaty and making a rally. It just has this like propulsive, like almost lyrical style to it. I found really interesting and likable. And it, if you've ever done training. Training arcs are so ubiquitous in manga. I don't know that this needs to be said, but there really is like watching somebody grow in this way is like a real phenomenon, and this captures it really, really effectively.
Yeah, I think it's excellent. It's a really nice chapter for Taiki. I like seeing the two love interests look at him. It's you know, it's one of these very understated things of having like your love interests actually explain what they find admirable in characters as opposed to just like I like him. I don't know what to tell you.
Standards might be really lowered by the media we consume, but we're like, this person has a reason they like a person is like the bare minimum.
Yeah, well, also like a kind of like actually understandable reason of like I'm really envious of how committed they are because that is like an inspiring thing. Like you do see somebody here like, oh my god, they do so much, they work so hard at this. That is like a quality you could find very attractive in a person. So suddenly it's not just like how big that dick, Taiki. It's like, oh hey, you're really motivated. And I was like, I love this. It's a very good moment, I think.
Yeah, actually, I really like this a lot. I wasn't expecting to, because it not really much happens. Like someone like looks at a person playing badminton, and they're like, "Oh, they're doing badminton." If you break it down, but
Yeah.
nailed it.
All right, Austin. Let's talk about everybody's favorite series, Doron Dororon. We have just finished the epic Dosan saga that will go up in the annals of time. And now it's time to start a new thing. Well, there's actually probably gonna be a little fallout, kind of like One Piece, where like after a big arc, there's got to be a couple chapters that show how the status quo has been changed, and like new relationships have to be formed, and let's build some world. I guess technically it does do all these things, so maybe One Piece is aping Doron Dororon actually. So
the absolute disrespect you and Nick treat this series with is so funny.
Only crime of just not being good, but like it's fine. It's just not amazing, and we're just like this stupid series.
It's so cruel. I did laugh. I laughed a lot during this. Not that it's particularly funny, but just that you could see so nakedly them trying to get to the end. Basically, you will get there, but Jesus Christ, it's very transparent, and that makes it very funny to me, at least.
Yeah. So Dora and Kusanagi are out there, like walking around the headquarters of the Corps, and he's just like, "I'm so glad we solved the case, easy peasy." I don't know how Kusanagi's doing it. He's eating like a dumpling, but he just shoves his. He doesn't have hands, which is weird because he could shapeshift, so he could shapeshift into having hands. He just doesn't. He just fucking. He whole horses this whole fucking dumpling basically in front of him.
It's Powerpuff Girl rules. Yeah. The round things can kind of just stick to each other. That's how they held things with their hands.
Yeah. Now that you say it, you've broken my mind yet again. Is Powerpuff Girls real?
Yeah, it's the realist.
I need to rewatch the movie. I remember watching it once and getting really depressed by it.
Oh no.
I just remember there's like a scene where they're all on the moon and they're all so sad. And I was like, this isn't what I'm here for. You guys usually make a bunch of jokes. What is this?
Bring back the silly monkey. Yeah. I wish to laugh.
I need my chortles. That's what I said at 7 years old. I was like, I need my chortles and good times. So Dora's walking around. He's like, yeah, it's cool. And he sees a gardener who's there. And he's like, oh, hey, you need any help? And he, of course, interrupts too. He's like, oh, and don't worry, this Momonosuke is harmless. So the gardener's like, oh, is that so? How nice of you two. But don't be cheeky brats. And suddenly it's like, and fucking hedges this entire tree. And it's just like, yes, if I focus, I can clip all these trees in an hour. I'm very, very cool. Do you still think you can help me? And Dora turns Kusanagi into a hedge trimmer and is like, yeah, let's show him. And I believe this is the only time Dora has turned Kusanagi into something that isn't just basically a sword. So we're finally seeing Dora or Kusanagi's shape-shifting coming into use as he turns into a hedge clipper.
It's like Green Lantern syndrome, where you can transform something into anything. The possibilities are too much, and you usually just make a big hammer.
Yeah. Well, it's just a big fist. I can just punch you real hard.
Yeah, it's just too much responsibility to have infinite shape-shifting powers.
So Dora and Kusanagi are trimming a bunch of trees, and the gardener looks on saying, they work together perfectly. Because they do. They're both pretty bad. Oh, Ninja is correcting me. This was a fan at one point. So there's been 2 other transformations that are...
Do you retract your statement? Do you apologize?
Yeah, you know what? Hey, I'm looking at you now, Dora and Kusanagi and Doron Dororon. I apologize. I seem to indicate you lacked creativity. And the many things you lack, that is still one of them, but not completely. So to that, I do apologize.
To make up for this grave insult, we will be both awarding it Chapter of the Week.
Honorary. Yeah, it just earns it now. The guy's just like, hey, why do you fight Mononoke? And Dora and Kusanagi are just like, yeah, well, it's just like, we want to make the world a kinder, happier place. And Gardner dude's like, you guys rule, and then leaves. I forget his stupid name, Uji. He shows up and is just like, hey, I told you guys to stay near me. And I don't know why that's a relevant detail. I guess it's just explain why he shows up into this scene, but they're grown people. They've saved the world like twice. Why do they need a chaperone around this place? Hasn't the entire Corps been told that like Kusanagi's cool at this point?
Just walking down the road, running into 2 relevant characters by complete happenstance. I'd love to be a writer. You can just make anyone appear in any scene. You don't need to explain it.
So cool. You could just do it. Dora's just like, oh, hey, we're just hanging out with this old gardener. And Uji's just like, that's not an old gardener. He's the old head of the Uzanagi Corp. What? And we cut over to the underground training hall where we're introduced to the founder / admirable. Admirable is a different word.
He's probably both, honestly.
Goki Tsukihara. And we are reintroduced to Usai, the commander. And then just a cavalcade of new characters who are all different officers. There's, again, there's strong guy, nerd guy, girl guy.
I also saw a Demon Slayer. I would love to have a group of expert fighting people who have their own little themes and they're all clashing. And
now this, to be fair, is just a shonen trope in general.
Sure.
So I'll give Doron on that. It's already Chapter of the Week, so I don't need to sing it too hard. But
you're right. I shouldn't have opened my petulant mouth and bad
understand your
shit
place,
talk.
dog. Is what I'm saying.
Our Chapter of the Week can brook no disrespect.
And there's also a sleepy one. Never seen that before. Like a sleepy character in a group. That's crazy. Also, there's another like rival angsty one, and then the 2 we've met before, Noitora and Uji. So the old guy whose name is literally 2 pages ago, and I just don't care to remember it.
Goki Tsukihara.
Yeah, it was also the chapter title, but God, why am I retaining this?
Yeah.
He's just like, oh yes, we found out that there was a conflict with a key figure during the last mission. I thought they would provide some interesting information. I'm sure it'll be helpful, and coughs. And every one of the other captains like turns and they have like their eyes flash as they all go to strike. I guess presumably the exact same spot because he deflects it all with a single movement. But they're like, yes, I asked them to try to get a hit in if I ever let my guard down. So it's all about conditioning. And then we find out the actual reason for the meeting is that the one who pulled the strings behind the fight was Hanzo Miyamoto. According to our intel, he's wrapped in black bandages and he must be taken out. If we can manage that, we can put a stop to everything. And they're like, oh, so he's human or like a humanoid Mononoke? Why would defeating him end anything? There's still more Mononoke out there. And Goki's just like, we only share this information with the officers to avoid confusion. The Mononoke appeared in this world because of a jutsu cast by that man. So if we kill him, all the jutsu will be lifted and Mononoke will disappear from this world. And Dora's like, all right, cool. Well, I guess we'll do that then. Wait a minute. All Mononoke? And he turns over to Kusanagi. Bump, 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 bump.
It's so great to be led to a room where someone says, like, how would we end the series? It was just one person we could defeat, which would solve all of our problems and also provide a touching, sad moment where I had to say goodbye to my friend. And they're like, yes, such a man exists. It's like incredible.
It is the best piece of writing in any piece of media where you're like, there's a bad army, but if we beat this one thing, the rest of them no longer exist.
Yeah, I believe
go away.
TV Tropes calls it the Keystone Army. It's just like, oh no, the Chitauri are invading. Oh, they're everywhere in New York. We're doomed unless we take a bomb to the mothership. Or, oh, the Stranger Things monsters are everywhere. We're doomed unless we close the portal. Like, it's just...
I like if they say a little sheepishly, like, unless we close the portal.
There's always a portal or a mothership or a reactor.
Sky beam. You gotta stop the sky beam.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it goes back to the Death Star. You just got to hit the torpedo in the one tube, and it all blows up.
Every story, at its core, is based off the Bible. So, which Bible story is this?
This is a great one. I mean, I think it's probably when you're talking about defeating a whole army and by destroying one person. It's got to be Revelation, right? It's when Jesus comes back and he defeats the devil and everything's good.
Incorrect. Correct answer was David and Goliath, because I don't know what happens after that story. Yeah, he just kills that giant and everyone's like, good job. You rule, David.
Yeah, they're like, Israel's safe forever. Don't read the book of Ezekiel. What up? We definitely spend a lot of time in exile and then we get conquered by Rome, right? Shut up. We beat Goliath.
The big dude's dead. We rule.
Honestly, I feel like I should be mad at this, our chapter of the week, but I can't because it's excellent, obviously, and it's just so completely obvious what they're going for. Do you think in their mind the author had all of these like lieutenants planned out from the beginning, like Organization 13, and they all have like gimmicks and backstory and like they were really excited to they were going to share all of their tragic histories and their inner turmoil.
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody who writes an action manga in Shonen Jump comes in with the general idea of like, okay, I'm going to create like 5 to 6 like side captain characters, like, because it's the big thing, you know. It's like, you know, the ninja teams in Naruto. It's, you know, the Gosei 13 and Bleach. You know, it's like, here are gonna be the Hashirara or whatever the names are in Demon Slayer. Like, here are the main significant characters who, as you said, are all gonna have their own unique designs and character gimmicks and all that sort of stuff. Like, this is what drives the series. So I feel like if you create a battle manga, you have to have something like that already planned. You're like, look, this is gonna be a thing. I'm gonna put these characters in somewhere.
But if our hero defeats the one man who caused Mononoke to appear and they all disappear and he, you know, sheds a single tear as his shape-shifting best friend leaves, we won't learn anything about these characters, which means the author can reuse them in the next series.
They they introduced them. You can't do it now.
Well, not the names, but you can be like, oh, here's the sleepy one with their backstory that you never learned in my old series. I do that all the time on my show, where I'm like, here's a character that will sure to be oh, you've killed them. And then it's like, all right, well, everything that I was going to reveal about them is actually true about this person that I reveal later.
I like this idea that that's how DiceFunk works, is you're like, fuck it, I like this thing, I'm just gonna put it back. These dopes won't ever know.
Yeah, I mean, no one does know. How would you know? Every time you don't engage with an NPC, you just make the next one more powerful.
Can I guess one of these characters who you've reused?
Absolutely.
I'm gonna say that annoying little bitch elephant from season 6.
How dare you talk about Lancelot the Hollyphant, the most beloved character who's ever existed. You should listen to my show if you don't. It's great.
Excellent. I've been listening to this current season and it's fantastic. Capitalist Batman may finally have gotten their just desserts, but I still root for them.
A divisive character for sure. Everyone either really fucking loves or hates Vimble Calthinian Berry Cheek the Fourth, the most annoying person who's ever lived. Fuck.
They're the best. All right, let's talk about. Oh wait, Austin.
Me.
I have a puzzle for you. Actually, I have two.
Oh, fuck.
So one is here, as we do a new segment called Podcaster Puzzles Popular Planeswalkers, perhaps pointlessly.
Yes. Yes.
So I have one here. Let's see if you can guess this. Pronounced pacifist pulverizes punitive prisoners.
Oh my God.
Purposefully.
You think I don't know Karn? You disgust me. Get that weak shit out of here.
I didn't do it because it was hard. I wanted to tell the story about how there's a big robot who's a pacifist and to torture him. They throw him in a rock tumbler with a bunch of goblins, so he just fall over and crush them.
Yeah, Karn is a construct, a great story. Got his spark from Venser, who died tragically. It's a whole thing. Was kind of a main character for a while, then disappeared, and is back now. We all love Karn.
Now, I would also like to turn your attention to Twitter, where I believe Y-Roller or Nick F. Time has sent you a message.
Oh no, on Twitter?
Yeah.
The accursed hell site? I shall open it. I just opened up Twitter and Nick's fucking face.
It's there for you, bud.
Oh no, I have to steel myself. Do you have any way to show this to the stream?
I do not, but I can actually read it out to you because I was sent it as well.
Okay.
So, Pious Phantasm promises payback for Pit Fighter's Plague.
Oh fuck! So this is a planeswalker.
No, that's what the gimmick I told Nick, but I don't think he reads, or he was experienced with Magic when it was previously. So there weren't a ton of planeswalkers back then. It might be a planeswalker. I don't believe so though.
Okay, but it is a Magic character.
Yes, it is a Magic character.
I was I was gonna be like,
no, it's a Yu-Gi-Oh character. Look, figure it out, bitch.
Okay, Pious
Phantasm promises payback for Pit Fighter's Plague.
Pit Fighter's Plague. Okay, so I remember the pit fighting storyline that was in like Scourge and so forth with Phage the Untouchable and that whole thing. Pious Phantasm makes me think of Kaya because she can turn into a ghost.
That is true.
But that she wasn't involved in that storyline. The plague that came out of the pit fight is, I mean, it's Phyrexia is the Phyresis is the name of the plague. Pious Phantasm. That's tripping me up. I'm trying to think of who counts as a phantasm. Oh no, I'm gonna look like a fool.
You're gonna look so stupid when I reveal the answer. I'm kidding.
Pious Phantasm. I guess it depends if maybe I'm thinking too strictly along the line of ghosts, because like it could be like if you count the illusions as phantasms, it could be Ixidor. I mean, it could just be a Chroma because she is like not actually. Anyway, it's a whole other thing. I'm gonna play the video so our audience can also hear it. Okay, wonderful.
All right, Austin, I've got a puzzle for you. Let's see if you can figure this out. Pious Phantasm promises payback for Pit Fighter's Plague.
All right, so the audience just heard it. You didn't get to. You can listen to the fucking video on your own goddamn time.
All right, one more time, and then I'm gonna give up.
Pious Phantasm promises payback for Pit Fighter's Plague.
Promises pays. Okay,
promises
I'm gonna say
payback.
Promises payback. I'm thinking of people who are like on revenge quests, and I mean that has to be Elspeth.
You go with Elspeth?
I'm gonna go with Elspeth.
The correct answer is a Chroma, the Angel of Wrath.
I did say a Chroma. Fuck.
Oh.
I did say it. I said it was. I said if you expand what Phantasm means, it could be Ixidor or a Chroma, because in the pit fighting storyline, basically a Chroma and Phage are separate people, and then they eventually get fused into the false god. And yeah, the Chroma has a whole storyline. She gets her legs melted off at one point and replaced with swords. She's sick. But yeah, I was thinking Phantasm too literally. She is like a vision of a woman. She is like not actually who she thinks she is. But yeah, because that was a good one. I think Pit Fighter was the best clue because that's a very specific storyline.
Austin or Nick had a good one. So big ups to Nick. And I
Yeah.
think that's all the puzzles we have. So
No, it's not.
Wait. What?
So this wasn't on stream before we were talking. You're like, oh, so sometimes we do this thing where we talk about PPPPP and we do a little puzzle. And I was like, bitch, you think I didn't prepare a puzzle for you?
You actually used a slur when you said it. I was not cool with that.
Don't say that. Oh my god, that's fucked up. But yeah, okay. So I didn't do magic. I did wrestling because that's what you do on this show.
Okay.
With the fun twist that I don't know anything about wrestling.
Okay.
I only know like 3 wrestlers.
Stone Cold. I'm just gonna name the 3 ones. John Cena.
Funakai.
Damn.
So I'm gonna say this. It might mean nothing to you. It's not a reflection on you, but rather my ignorance. Here we go.
Okay.
Pastoral powerhouse from popular parable is preposterous and perplexing.
Ooh, okay. Pastoral. What was it? Pastoral
Powerhouse.
powerhouse.
You're gonna be so mad at me.
Say and what's the rest of it?
Pastoral powerhouse. So I've kind of broke it down into 3 sections. Like, so that's kind of a descriptor, and then the backstory is popular parable. Pastoral powerhouse from a popular parable
Okay.
is preposterous and perplexing, and so that's kind of a description.
Okay. Pastoral all right. It's gotta be like a farmer. Is it Colossus from X-Men?
I didn't know Colossus from X-Men was a farmer.
Yeah, man. That's how his mutant power activated, Austin. His family member was about to get crushed by a tractor and he turned into metal and crushed it.
I only read Hellboy, really.
You're a nerd.
That's really the only comic I really fuck with.
You'd read X-Men if I put it on fucking scrolls.
Absolutely.
I put X-Men, Uncanny X-Men on a scroll and I just fucking leave it on your doorstep. You're like, oh, babe, new scroll.
That's me.
All right. I'm trying to think of somebody who was like kind of like their backstory was like, oh, I'm like a farmer or something like that, or like I came from the countryside.
Yeah, so pastoral is related to like farms and so forth. It's coming at it from a slightly different angle. It's not exactly a farmer. It's farm adjacent, I would say.
Okay. Farm adjacent. Well, that takes that IRS because it wouldn't be somebody who worked for the government. That'd be different.
No, it's not. I think you can roll it out safely.
It's not the wrestling or the wrestling accountant. That's interesting.
I'm waiting for the reveal when you're like, none of this describes any of it. You don't understand at all.
If you're like Hulk Hogan, I'm gonna be like, you son of a bitch. Powerful parable, was it?
Popular parable.
Popular parable. Okay.
Here, parable being a little bit broader, just to mean like an old story, more or less.
Like
but a popular old story.
Okay. And then it's something.
Preposterous and perplexing.
Preposterous and perplexing. Well, that's wrestling in general. I can't get anybody else.
But stupid and confusing even for wrestling.
I mean, Undertaker's very stupid and confusing when you start to dig into some of the lore.
Sure.
Really, what's the really dumbest wrestler I can think of beside Luchasaurus, the wrestling dinosaur?
I don't have the stream up. I wonder if anyone in the chat is guessing and getting it. I should have that up.
I'm seeing answers in there that don't really call to me.
Okay.
If it's Booker T, I'll be blown because there's so many other things you can say about Booker T.
I don't know who that is.
Is it Hornswoggle, the wrestling leprechaun?
No, that would have been a good one though.
That's
I should have done that.
I think you have me. I think you and Nick are gonna share this.
All right, you ready for the reveal?
Yes.
It's Mantar.
Okay, that's fair. Did you just look up a list of the dumbest wrestlers?
No, you told me about Mantar.
Did I?
Years ago, yes. When
Why?
season 4 of our show, we did a wrestling arc. and you were just giving me some things to look up about wrestling. You're like, you got to see this match where this guy falls through a cage and lands on a bunch of nails. You got to see this famous thing, and then you were like, there's also this guy named Mantar, and I've never forgotten it.
I mean, I'm glad I introduced you to the dumb side of wrestling as opposed to the embarrassing side where you're like, oh, this is shameful, and many of you should be in prison for even doing this.
Yeah, breaking news. Vince McMahon under investigation for hush money scheme or something currently as of this recording.
There's a lot of things going on there with multiple. By the way, he used that story to advertise himself being on SmackDown to say, welcome to SmackDown, everybody, just for the ratings boost.
I mean, never stop hustling. That man is on his grind.
You gotta go all the way. I want to do another season of DiceFunk where I play another wrestler just so I can tell you more wrestling stories because there's so many. All right, let's talk about Chapter 37, December 21st. So we open exactly where we left off last time. As Sora Chica has basically crushed Lucky's dreams and basically was like, death rules, you suck, goodbye. I can't wait till mom's dead. And passed by Reijiro, who goes running into the room to see Lucky just fucking gobsmacked, like haunted as he turns over. And then we cut over. Sora Chica has returned home. And guess what? It's the birthday party. For who? For fucking everyone. It's a septuplet. So they all have the same birthday. And Fanta is there. And basically just like hosting another birthday party. Like, yeah, it's a little bit smaller, but you know, thanks to a certain someone's expose, I can't allow the press here. Sora Chica asks where their dad is. He's like, yeah, he's in his room. He only shows at the beginning anyway. Fanta asks if Sora Chica saw Reijiro, and he's like, yeah. And he just asks, like, what are you scheming for this competition? You know, like, I just figured Lucky's existence is something you don't like. And Sora Chica's like almost a little angry. He goes like the little like I don't know what you call them, like the little fucking like crosses of like anger bolts all over his face. He's like, I'm not scheming anything. Or you mean the music I selected? I'll just pick the pieces we usually play. Anyway, I'm gonna win, so who cares? He brings up, he's like, you know, Lucky didn't beat Mamin or Reijiro, so he's fucked. Like, he sucks. I'm gonna fucking own this little bitch, and just everyone's gonna think I rule, and then he'll give up after he gets crushed by his third sibling in a row. So don't reveal any more secrets, basically. And I guess if you do, all you can reveal is that we're going to be doing a lot of battling, you know? So Sora Chica just says, have you decided on the teammates for your team? And he says, I have. And we're reintroduced to Maloli and another character in the background who we don't get to see. And Maloli just says, happy birthday to you two. She also specifically uses their full names, which makes it very unnerving. But Fanta says that Maloli actually came up with this plan. And she's basically like, yeah, I don't give a shit what you're up to, but I'm only going to be there if Mamin's going to be there, right? So we cut over on that cue to Mamin just fucking covering shit in frosting. I think because she gets surprised, but I also just like to think that she has the diet of a 3-year-old who just fucking shoots icing all over stuff.
Yeah, I don't particularly care for the art in this series most of the time. A lot of the stuff doesn't do much for me, but her facial expression in the icing panel is really good.
What festival? And also Reijiro is there hugging Lucky so tightly he can't breathe. Reijiro is just like, I'm listening. Fanta and Sora Chica suck. They're like, why are they doing this? Basically, like, Lucky's being so picked on. This is awful. And then he's like, wait, who the fuck are you? And I also said that, even though I know this character and seen him several times throughout the series. I'm so glad he introduces himself, because otherwise I would not remember this character's name. It's Sadame Hino, who wishes everyone a happy birthday. And he just asks, hey, will you be joining Team A, Mamin and Reijiro? And they just in unison say, yeah, because they're friends with Lucky, so they're going to do it. Which, on one hand, is very good. On the other hand, I'm a little bit bummed. And maybe we'll get like a Dragon Ball Super move where like, oh, Majin Buu's going to be on the team. And then the last second, like, no, he's sleeping or some bullshit. So we're going to get Frieza on the team instead. I was kind of hoping we might see like a reason for Furusu to get on a team. But as it is, it looks like it's going to be the 3 Otogami siblings and then Sadame as the fourth. Because they're like, yeah, we're going to win, and we're going to drag Fanta over to see Mom, and Maloli's going to be at the festival, so I want to battle her, and Reijiro's just like, I'm going to fucking win and crush everybody because I have an unhealthy relationship to my sibling. But then they ask, like, hey, Sadame, what do you want? He's like, oh, hey, like, do you remember what I said during the summer about granting my wish? Well, I want my wish granted now. Let me be on Team A. So Lucky's like, cool, thanks. And he just thinks to himself, wow, everybody's helping me out. I need to do a non-legato analysis. This time, who am I playing for? And you remember Sora Chica's words about ego, so it just ends the chapter. Ego. And I believe he is, of course, actually talking about Ego, the living planet, a Marvel Comics character who is just a big planet who is mad in space. Like I would be too.
It would make this series a lot more interesting if there was a living planet and it was played by the guy from Big Trouble in Little China, as he was in the movie. I would like that a lot. I don't know. I feel like a hater, but I've never particularly cared for as they say, you know, writing about music is like dancing about architecture. It's not a great fit. I don't particularly love the art, and it's just a lot of tedious family drama. It's just not for me. I'm not even saying like from a writing perspective, it's like weak or like cheap, or it's not like Doron Dororon where I'm like, oh lol, like this is like you know just like amateur. Like you would get this back covered in red marker, being like fix this. It's just not my style.
That seems like the meanest thing. I almost want to do that. I just want to print out every chapter of Doron Dororon, write up remarks, and then hand it back to like just post on Twitter like you need this back.
Yeah, I'm not even trying to be mean to that person, but yeah, like if I was an editor at a magazine and someone turned that in, I would be like, you need to do this. It's not a great from a writing perspective, which is not a thing I have with this series necessarily. It's just not particularly doing anything for me, unfortunately.
That's fair. All right, let's talk about Ruri Dragon, Chapter 2. See you at school. Now,
you tried to keep this from me.
I
You
tried.
sent me the list of series to read, and it wasn't on there, but I read it anyway.
I'm trying to deny its existence. I'm trying to hide it so none of us have to read it.
Well, yeah, is it too cute for you? Is that the problem?
Is that all right? We're gonna get into this, I guess. So we open the chapter. Ruri, aka Ruri Dragon, that's her superhero code name, is attempting to force herself to sneeze so she can shoot fire, and it doesn't come out. So she's like, "Mom, can I fucking go home?" And her mom's like, "No, because if you can't trigger it yourself, then it's only going to come out in random outbursts. So you can't come back to school until we figure out until you figure out how to breathe fire." So we get a little bit of a flashback to her going back to when she first breathed fire. Breathed fire?
Breathed.
Breathed fire. Breathed? All right.
Breathed. Yeah.
And her mom was just like, "Hey, how are the burns?" And Ruri's just like, "Yeah, they're all healed. I think the scars are all gone." And her mom's like, "Yep, you've inherited your dad's healing blood. So that sounds pretty cool, right?" And Ruri's just like, "Yeah, I rule, I guess." Like, so she hasn't had any fire since then. She's like, "Yeah, no, maybe it'll never happen again." And her mom's like, "It's not good. It's probably gonna happen again. All right, we're gonna make you force fire out, basically." And that's where we're at currently. That was called In Media Res. We started in the middle.
Wow.
We actually started, didn't we? Actually started in the present and then went backwards in Media Res and then came to current.
Can I call you Professor? You're teaching me so much. A thing I noticed immediately, not to cut you off and interrupt your recap, but there's a lot of no backgrounds going on here. Have you noticed that? What do you think about this? Because it's to me, like when you often recap these things and you're talking about like, oh, Bleach has no backgrounds, or like, oh, look how detailed this elusive samurai background is, and it's like it seems like leaving it blank would be a weakness, but reading all of this stuff in like one go for the show tonight, I was like refreshed because I like after One Piece where every single molecule is filled with detail, I was like, I need a break from that, and this is like really refreshing to me.
That's right. Ruri Dragon is the antithesis to One Piece. Every strength One Piece has, this one doesn't, and every strength this one has, One Piece doesn't. So,
I'm pretty sure One Piece has little horned people that are cool.
Yeah, I think so. I could probably think of one if you give me a little time. So no, I don't really care one way or the other. I didn't really notice it. I'm not. This is a shameful thing to admit as a professional manga recapper. I don't really notice backgrounds that often. At least I don't really consciously realize I notice it. So people pointed it out laterwards or afterwards on like our Discord and things like that. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess there are a lack of backgrounds in it, but I truly don't like. I don't know. They eventually establish, oh, she's in a field by a river. So that's like in my mind, I just keep picturing that scene until told otherwise, basically. I don't know.
Yep.
The mom's just like, hey, you know, like, you want to do a picnic or something like that? Or she asked her mom that. Her mom's like, yeah, well, we got to like take it easy now and then. And, you know, by the way, I saw your dad. Like, so we get a flashback of her seeing the dad who like, in this moment, you're like, oh, I wonder, like, are dragons, like, humanoid people? Well, it doesn't seem to be so. From the silhouette we've seen, it's just a big fucking dragon that she had sex with at some point.
Yeah, they're really withholding the salacious details. I want to know more about that interaction and the anatomy and so forth.
I wonder if it's going to be like how JD from Scrubs got Elizabeth Banks pregnant, where they didn't actually have intercourse. He just came in her general proximity.
I don't remember that. I've seen a good amount of Scrubs. I feel like I would remember that.
I just remember the way he has to describe it to get it on television. He's like, there was friendly fire near the area and some troops may have gotten into the bunker or something like that.
Okay.
Scrubs rules.
That is not the Ruri Dragon situation. No. This lady got plowed. She got fucking annihilated.
It's a sweet series.
Mom could not walk for 3 days.
No. You're horny. I told you you'd be too horny for this series. That's why I tried to hide it from you. The mom's basically just like, hey, yeah, you're like, what's going on, basically? And the dragon's just like, it's only natural she won't know how to control her fire at first, you know. Her anatomy is fundamentally human, but none of these chains are abnormal, and her body is going to adapt. Of course, that all depends on what's passed down. I mean, even I don't really know what she's going to inherit, but whatever she does happen to inherit, for me, those become traits. So just let her be, you know, her body will learn what's going on. Give it time. And then the mom follows this up by saying, you guys have explosive discharges too, like from the lower end is what he says. So can in fact, I guess, Ruri's third dragon trait is explosive wet shits, apparently.
Oh my god.
Ruri just asks, like, did you guys fight? And our mom's just like, yeah, no, like, he doesn't stop for 2 seconds to think about how stuff impacts our lives. So yeah, I guess I beat some sense into him. Because we see in like the flashback scene, she literally is just like, I fucking walked up the mountain. You better know more than this, and threw something at him. And Rory just asks like, so what's my dad like? And she's mom's like, do you want to meet him? Like, nah, not really. I don't really know what to expect.
Extremely relatable. Really liking Rory. Also, never met my father. If he was in the other room, I wouldn't bother getting up to go see. Just extremely not interested. Boring.
Austin, your dad's out the window. Would you like to just turn slightly and look? Like, nah.
No. I don't want to risk getting a neck strain and looking in that direction. Who gives a shit?
I'm proud of you, bud. Mom's just like, he's only a monster on the outside. Inside, he's not so different from a person, which might explain why you're so human yourself. And suddenly, Ruri's just like tingling. She's like, wait, what? Hold on. Something's going on. It's going to happen. And she goes and she runs over to the lake or river, and she's like, does this seem mostly human to you? And she explodes a giant breath of fire. And her mom's like, oh, that was a big one. She's clapping. And Ruri's all excited because it happened again. And she's like, oh, it didn't hurt this time. And her mom's like, hey, your throat probably adapted from last time, you know. So it was real good. That was some grade A fire right there. And she's like, all right, cool. You can go back to school now. You feel strange or anything like that? And she's like, nah, I guess not. And maybe like breathing fire or whatever could be fun. So they go and drive off. They go to a doctor. Doctor has experience with dragons. This is a little detail. They go to check for any weirdness. They go to stop by Grandma's house. Be like, hey, what's going on there? Grandma's like, why do you have horns? And it's the same joke from like the first chapter where everyone's like, huh, okay. I've got melon. Let's go eat. Like the conversation kind of ends there. And then they go and pick up some groceries. She's like, God damn, this chapter's long. Holy shit. I was like, yeah, we wrapped this chapter up like 4 times. They go to a grocery store, and the mom's like, yeah, if there's any more trouble, you can don't worry about it. Just go back to school, basically. You can basically control fire now, so no worries. But if you don't want to go, then you don't have to. Is that how you're feeling? Reluctant? And the mom's like, or Ruri's just like, I guess if I'm allowed, I'll go back. But then the chapter ends with one of her friends showing up and being like, oh, it's so cool to see you. I was so worried you weren't at school. I'm so glad you're fine. And, runs away. And Ruri's like, all right, I guess I'm headed back to school. That's it.
What a dramatic cliffhanger. Dun, dun, dun.
Is she really going to go back to school, Austin?
I mean, this is an incredibly understated series. The main problem is that while dry comedy is fine, it does still need to be funny, and it's not particularly funny so far. The under reactions are like unique because no one's going like oh Nani like at every single thing. But it has to have a little bit more. It's almost the opposite of Alien area where it has a unique hook, but it doesn't have all the shonen bullshit instead of having all the shonen bullshit and no hook. I will say I'm curious where they're going to go with this. Like, do you think this little friend who shows up at the end is going to be like revealed next chapter to like part mermaid, and the next chapter they'll meet someone who's like part oni, or like, do you think it's going to be like exploring demi-human culture and like slice of life stuff, or is it just going to be like she goes to school and like it gets good grade? Like, what is this about?
Like, that could be actually a concept for it. I don't know. Like, I think people have like brought up the term like slice of waifu with this series, where it's just like I don't know, people just like that that's like a cool girl or whatever, and then just slice of life stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if it's just like a series about someone in school and she happens to have dragon horns, I don't know that I'm interested in that necessarily. But also, I don't think it needs to be like a huge lore dive. I don't think we need like 50 chapters of like the dragon saga to learn about the difference between dragons and Ryu in this world, as they point out. That's also doesn't need to be what it is. But I do need to know what it's trying to convey.
Now, an important detail. This is not chapter 3. This is chapter 2. So next chapter is when we decide. But can I get your official word right now as to whether or not you would like us to add this to the recap?
So this is tough. Like, if this was my choice right now, I would say yes, because I'm curious about what actually the premise is beyond that she has horns. But I could definitely see if like next episode they don't really I keep talking about this like TV. If they don't introduce any like
Next
new
season,
thing,
yeah,
next season, I could definitely see like it's not funny enough. Like it's like if it's all it's bringing is like cuteness and comedy, it's failing on the comedy. And you can look at girls in a lot of places. I don't know that I need this to be my place.
Yeah.
So it's gotta get funnier or weirder,
or both. You could do both.
Yeah.
I do like that they talked about poop. That's always a funny thing. So,
Yeah, that's definitely that's the source of drama. If the dad comes off the mountain and it's just like, humans, stop pooping. It's disgusting. I'll destroy you all.
Or make your dumps more explosive like mine. You have dainty poops. I want everyone to have massive poops.
Yeah, something like that would really push it over the edge for me.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Mashle, Magic and Muzzles, Chapter 112, Mash, Burn Dead, and The Symbol of Peace. Every
time I come on, I'm ready. The funniest chapter of the week. It's got to be. My sides are ready to split. I'm holding them. Don't split my sides.
At this point, I'm fine with just acquiescing that this isn't a funny series because you've shown up 3 times, and every time you show up, it's on the most dour, serious fucking chapter.
From my perspective, Mashle is a series about like extremely powerful evil guys killing people. It has no comedy aspects. There's no cream puffs at all. I've never seen them.
I read this chapter and I was like, God damn it.
It really is just like the 3 most serious chapters, the ones I happen to be on the episodes for.
telling you, it gets funny sometimes. Anyway, we start with sort of like an exposition about the lore of this world that no one gives a shit about. It's just like, I don't know, the world was split into countries and they fought, and then mages with double lines showed up and they were really strong, and then someone showed up who was even stronger. It was Adam Jobs, the first Divine Visionary, and he basically beat everybody, and he's super cool. That's why Divine Visionaries are so cool. They're an absolute symbol of power in this world. And the reason we get that introduction is because the next, 6 pages are about how the Divine Visionaries have all just been fucking owned. Like, all of them have just been absolutely massacred. We see Renatus basically trying to be like, no, I'm not done yet. And Doom just fucking severs his jaw and off as he bisects his face. It's pretty brutal.
That's a really good shot.
Yeah. And Renatus just, we get a little narration that says, as his consciousness faded, Renatus, the immortal king, thought this is the first time he'd seen one with the strength to surpass a god. So much...
I'm hooting and hollering. It's so funny. I'm banging the table. My eyes are popping out. My tongue is unrolling like a red carpet.
Well, we'll pull it together, because then they offered the crucified bodies of 5 missionaries over the town to let them know all of their heroes have fallen.
As soon as I did see this crucified bodies, I did perk up. I was like, ooh, a little something for Austin.
A little treat for me.
Let's see if we engage with these themes.
So the town's like, holy shit, our Divine Visionaries have lost. If they can't stop them, then we're done for. And Innocent Zero pops up and is like, I will soon rule the world, and my first course of action will be to exterminate mankind. I will become the perfect king. Killing you would ensure that none could threaten my superiority. But if you wish to live, I offer you an opportunity. Capture Mash Burn Dead. And it's kind of funny because Mash just has a very plain face. So this is a joke you can laugh at.
No, it is good. I'm giving it a hard time because it's funny, but honestly, this isn't a bad chapter or anything.
Basically, it's like, hey, he's at Milia Dul's clinic. Speaking of clinic, this is off topic. But I finally had to stop playing Bloodborne. I used to text you every time I beat a boss. And then I fought Dark Beast Pearl, and I was just like, yeah, I just hate this. I hate every part of this. I'm sad now. I feel bad. I wanted to engage with it more. But yeah, that camera did me a number, and I was just like, you know what? I don't feel like doing this anymore.
Were you locking on? I feel like the trick to the Dark Beast Pearl fight is not locking on.
Probably. I think I did it twice, and I think I got closer the second time, and now it's just like, maybe I just don't like video games anymore. And I put my controller down and stared off into the middle distance. Started walking into a sunset.
Oh my god!
You haven't been rating chapters based on which Elden Scrolls boss it is. So what's your new fixation that you could talk about?
Right now, my entire life is consumed by the fact that I'm traveling to Florida and seeing my family, and every moment is agony as I await this extremely social quagmire. Not a great time to start reading Lost or watching Lost, by the way. Getting on a plane in a couple of days. Love to look at the charred fuselage full of bodies and think about my upcoming plans. It
starts getting nicer eventually. It's rough at the start, but then eventually it's all about family and shit.
Okay.
So Innocent Zero just continues like, hey, you have until the day before the eclipse. If I do not have him by then, you will experience pain beyond your wildest dreams. And as he says that, he stabs all the Divine Visionaries who are already crucified with spikes, and their screams echo throughout the town. So the town people are like, shit, all right, let's get Mash Burn Dead. Someone please save us, basically. And we do get the one really good joke of the chapter as we cut over to the little monster guy whose name I fucking hate and forget. And he's just like, boss lady, thanks for all the help. I'm going to go see if Innocent Zero is hiring. And she just karate chop punches him in the stomach, and I hope he's dead.
I mean, the thing where the villain makes everyone chase the hero, a classic trope we all love and enjoy. How much of this is new information? I already know Innocent Zero is the villain. I already know there's a backstory of Steve Jobs and stuff. Is any of this really new besides the fact that now everyone's turning on MASH?
I think the idea was one to give a little bit more context to divine visionaries to show like, oh wow, that's how powerful divine visionaries were. That was their symbol, but they've all been not just beaten, but crushed by these kids of Innocent Zero. So it's a hype up moment for them without actually giving away what they do specifically, and then setting up the conflict of just like go after MASH essentially, and they're gonna have to be some stand in the clinic to be like, don't, I need to finish healing MASH. And I presume maybe that's where somebody like Finn shows up or something like that. Maybe this is something for the side cast to do while MASH like gets ready.
I mean, people love when you beat up an established character with a new character to show how cool they are. Everyone loves the Jurassic Park 3 when Spinosaur kills the T-Rex, and then we're like, oh, now I hate the T-Rex. I was such a fool to ever care about the T-Rex. It always works.
Have I seen Jurassic Park 3? Is that the one where it gets to the town and just like the T-Rex?
No. No, it's literally what I was just making a joke about how to establish the divine visionaries all getting owned was like this famously unliked moment where the T-Rex, who is extremely in wrestling parlance over, everyone loves T-Rex.
T-Rex shirts are going off the shelves.
To make the new villain Spinosaurus seem cool, they have him kill T-Rex, and no one liked that. They were like, this sucks. We don't believe you. Spinosaurus may have been larger, like if the fossil record indicates, but we already liked T-Rex and we're not open to this new thing. So I'm just saying it's a risky move to be like, oh, those guys you thought were cool and strong, they're actually punks. This is the new cool strongness. I feel like people see that as kind of like cynical and usually react poorly to that technique.
Yeah. I think the chapter's fun. It's weird and dark, and again, it does pain me that yet again Austin's on the show, and I was like, "There's nary a joke in this chapter." It's almost biblical how unfunny this thing is. But good times still, and we will go towards a closing wrap up here with One Piece, chapter 1053, New Emperors. So we get a cover page with a bunch of characters from a video game that I'm not going to play. So if you're curious who those characters are, you're not supposed to know. You can play the video game and find out, I guess.
Yeah, it basically looks exactly like Dragon Quest, which, I mean, they share some lineage coming from like the same era of stuff. So it makes sense. But yeah, it just looks like that series, but with One Piece like pasted over all the models.
Well, do they still have the bad pun names?
I actually don't know. I saw this. So I saw this was revealed at E3, I think. So it's relatively new. So
they still do E3?
No, they don't. That's what people call it when you reveal a bunch of games in June.
Oh, okay. It's just that's E3 essentially.
It's etymological drift is like how, you lose like half of the words in English are from Shakespeare, but no one knows that because we use them all. Soon no one will remember why we call video game reveals an E3.
Yeah. It's a piece of culture. It's just going to leave us one day. The Zoomers have taken it from us.
They're going to have it.
Yeah. So we open with a bunch of yelling basically going on like, wait, what is this picture doing here? You weren't supposed to approve this. I told you to remove the D off the name, reprint it now. And we're not reintroduced. We just see Big News Morgan, I believe is the bird's name. Just a bird person. I don't know if we've ever found out they have a devil fruit. They might just be a bird person in this world. But they're going on basically like, just look at that mystical form. The last message sent out by Cypherful after they vanished was, it's Big's mom's ship, and I won't let them manipulate this narrative. At moments like these is when the world is in flux. The straight facts are the most interesting news there is. Nothing like good old live entertainment. And we get the announcement of or narration saying the Emperors of the Sea, Kaido and Big Mom, defeated. The shocking news took no time to make its way around the world. 2 of the emperors who had ruled over the seas for decades toppled in a single night. And upon 3 pirate captains, Eustace Captain Kidd, Trafalgar Law, and Monkey D. Luffy, the government placed a shocking bounty of 3 billion berries each. Whoa. Now, Austin, You're still new to One Piece. Bounty chapters are big for One Piece. This is where shit gets real.
I can't tell if you're sarcastic. I just got to the part in the anime where they get their first bounty, and there's a guy who smokes 2 cigars at the same time, and he's incredible.
Smoker, and
it's
great
so good.
Because in the 4Kids version, they had to edit out the cigars in his mouth, so his mouth's still open, and there's just smoke shooting out. And they're like, well, we can't call him Smoker either, because that's a bad thing kids can do. So they called him Chaser instead.
Uh-oh. Oh, no. That's not going to mean what it meant back then and soon.
Well, even then, I mean, that was still what you call an alcohol, like Chaser.
Oh, yeah, shit.
Chase down a mixed drink, so it was very strange.
I mean, it could have been worse. You could put 2 things in someone's mouth and make it extremely much more scandalous than cigars.
Well, the 4Kids version had like was infamous for like doing weird edits. So I like Sanji always smoking cigarettes, and they replaced it with lollipops in the 4Kids version. So they could have just done that, like 2 giant candy bars in his mouth or 2 giant hoagies. Just
If I was a One Piece character, that would be like my gimmick, because I would always have a calzone in my mouth.
You say that there's actually a character whose gimmick was he always had a giant piece of food on the side of his face, because he was like, I was eating a hamburger and I lost half it, and it just stuck to the side of his face.
What the hell?
Yeah, you'll get to him eventually.
Yeah, actually, where I am now is there's a guy who flicks his boogers and they explode. That's where I am. So, normal series, regular people doing mundane stuff.
But that said, to the actual question you asked, this is actually somewhat serious. Like, the chapters where new bounties were revealed has kind of become like a thing with One Piece, because they usually only happen after big arcs. And it was like, for a very long time, this was sort of the like climactic sort of resolving action chapter of like, oh, new bounties, the status quo in the world has been changed. 3 billion bounties, like, numbers have gotten so high now they mean nothing, though. Like, I think
inflation,
yeah,
supply chain. Look what Biden has done to One Piece.
Exactly. So they all have 3 billion. It's a very big number. But Kid does know, or Law does know, like, yeah, this is gonna be trouble that we have a bounty this big. We cut over as one of the guys serving food is just like, oh yes, I am proud to serve our esteemed guest a traditional Hosen Ryori meal worthy of a shogun, as he lists all the different meals, and he says, do enjoy, as he pushes out the food to an audience that is completely empty except for Jinbei, who is the nice old man who was just like, everyone else went outside for food, but you worked so hard that I'm gonna eat your food, basically. And I was like, oh, what a nice little guy. Good dude, Jinbei. We cut over. All the other Straw Hats are basically at a giant festival, eating a bunch of food. Hiyori is playing music. Good for her. Cut over to a very strange scene where the Tengu, who has been like a character in this arc, I suppose, like the 89th most important character in the Wano story, shows up and is like, I'm very important now, Nico Robin. It turns out I'm Odin's dad. Yes, that's right. The original fucking shogun who was displaced and kind of caused this whole calamity to happen. I was in prison down here, and then once I got out, I didn't want to tell anybody. So I considered killing myself, but anyway, Robin's like, hey, where's the fucking weapon? Is it here? And he's like, yes, it is. It's a very strange scene. I don't know why this character needed to be important suddenly, but there we go. There's the detail. I'm sure there's a 38-minute lore video on YouTube about this dude and why it's super cool, but I'm not super stoked about that.
You told me before we started, you're like, there's a lot of lore in this One Piece chapter, so it's fine if you don't really know what's going on. And I was like, I don't know what's going on when reading it in order half the time. So I don't know that it really matters that much. It's all kind of just...
this is a big spoiler, though. Now when you get to the Wano arc 6 years from now and you're watching of One Piece, you're going to be like, I know that Tengu dude is Odin's dad. It doesn't... I mean, it's not going to change anything.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Everyone is someone's dad eventually. That's how biology works.
Damn. That's just truth.
I said that so fucked up. I meant everyone has a dad, but I said everyone is someone's dad, which is not true.
Everyone's someone's dad. Just think about it logically. We then cut over to the former excavation camp, and there's a bunch of screaming as we see Kaido pirates impaled upon what looks like roots, and King and Queen have even been impaled, and they're it looks like being drained of everything as a very tall man just starts stomping on them. And he's just like, I warned you not to test me, right? A guy in my position can't go around getting beat by pirates subordinates. The Navy doesn't have any spare manpower to send around performing cleanup, and you're just who I thought you were. And we see one of the roots has like smashed through a barrel and is literally drinking everything inside. As we are formally introduced to holy shit. Austin, save me.
Too powerful of a character. You can't handle it.
He's so hot.
Every chapter of One Piece is like, here's the new hottest, most powerful person. And in their backstory, they defeated the person we told you previously was the most powerful.
It's a hot off. Like, King was the new hot character, and now to beat him, Aramaki is now the hottest character. So to be like the new hottest character in One Piece, you just have to kill the one that was hotter before you.
It's power creep.
Yeah.
It's all power creep.
Well, do you know the gimmick of the admirals?
No, I don't think so.
They're all designed after Japanese actors, specifically.
Oh my god.
So there is one that's
Oh my god.
what's his fucking name? Zentochi or whatever, the blind swordsman.
Zatoichi.
There's one. I mean, he's specifically also a blind swordsman as well, but he has gravity powers, so it's different. But he is specifically designed to look like the actor from it.
Oh, Oda, having fun with it as usual.
I like this because it's a better style than Oda's traditional character design style nowadays. So I like these character designs more than what he usually comes up with. So we are formally introduced to Ryo Gyoku, the Red Bull Aramaki. And yeah, he gets a call that's like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? And he's just like, you did good. That's what everyone's gonna say when I bring in this kid's head, basically. And we get his little rap of Rahaha. All right, cut over to the flower capital. Sorry, did I say red? I meant Green Bull. If I said something different, I apologize. Big hero celebration going on. Red Bull, that gives you wings. That's a different thing altogether. Austin, why didn't you correct me? I look like a fool there. How do you not know you're Japanese?
I was just testing you.
Thank you. Luffy's celebrating. Kid's like, I'm going to go beat him. Instead, Luffy grabs him by the head. He's like, let's celebrate. Kanpai. And there's big fireworks and there's big celebration. Carrot's in the shot, alerting the audience to the fact that she is not going to join the crew. So please give up on it. I'm sorry. You don't get a furry waifu in the crew. It doesn't happen. You have Chopper. Deal with it. And they're like, wow, this is so cool. But then Kid is like, hey, fucking look at this. I don't know if you've heard what's happened on the outside, but this is who they're calling the 4 emperors now. And we get a shot of the 4 new emperors of One Piece. Shanks and Blackbeard, who are already members of the emperors. Luffy. And then Buggy, the genius jester, who everybody's like, all right, well, what the fuck did Buggy just do to become an emperor? Because I really want to know now. We won't get to find out about that, unfortunately. That's a detail to find out and discover somewhere down the line. But in the meantime...
Exclusive to One Piece Odyssey, coming to Xbox One.
There you go.
Wouldn't that be fucked up?
It would be extremely fucked up if that's... They're like, we're going to start Oda's like, in the twilight of this 28-year-long series run, I'm going to start introducing important plot developments in fucking Xbox 360 games or whatever the fuck it's going to come out on.
Yeah, they get to the end and they're like, oh, we found it, the One Piece. It is actually a... And then it just cuts off and it's like, if you want to know what the One Piece is, please download One Piece Mobile for Android and iOS.
I might do that. Like, if I find out what the One Piece is, I only have to spend $200.
Oh my god. You're the problem.
It's just Diablo Immortal. Did you see the news article? I shouldn't say news article, but Ted Cruz says he plays video games, but he just plays the ones that let him spend a shit ton of money to get stronger than everybody else.
Yeah, Ted Cruz, the mobile whale. Just not to psychoanalyze someone on a tiny crumb of information, but he simply cannot conceive of a world that isn't governed by money, where money is the only solution to anything, and being rich is being more powerful. Just truly encapsulating him in just a beautiful little bauble for us all to piss on.
I just like to think that he's like, I don't know what everyone's complaining about. Diablo Immortal's sweet. I just gave him $400,000 and my character rules ass now.
I mean, not even in the top 100 of terrible things about him, but number one with a bullet as far as being a little toad. Just truly revealing the bootlicking mindset. Yeah. I love to give money to corporations. I control who lives and dies. Fucking the worst.
So the chapter ends with Aramaki approaching the party, saying like, well, the Navy ain't in a mood to celebrate. The world outside is one unholy mess right now. I imagine he sounds like that, like a cool guy. So that's why I gave him a cool guy voice.
Does the Navy actually pay these bounties, or is it at a certain point like the economy would collapse, right?
Someone killed 2 dudes. We had to give them all of our money, so we're broke.
We've just created a famine, the likes of which will erase humanity by paying off 2 bounties. I'm just like, I hope the way One Piece ends is Monkey D. Luffy gets the One Piece. He is the king of the pirates, and then like the end of The Wire, some kid does to him what happened to Omar.
You can't spoil The Wire.
I'm just saying, someone caps him and collects his bounty, and they're like, oh.
Sweet.
Here we go again.
The last shot is him in a morgue as someone mixes up like, oh, wait, you're not that person. Going to show that person was only important in the streets. You know, to the rest of the world, they were just another body.
Damn, you ever think about The Wire?
Every day. I really do. That series is so good. I want to ask you, Austin, about One Piece, because you said you're watching it. And I want to get your thoughts on it, because every so often you'll text me a little nugget, a little detail, a little Hershey kiss, a little smidgen of info about what you think about the series.
I mean, it's a fun adventure so far. There's a lot of like idiosyncrasies to Oda's whole thing that are confusing or interesting. At least, one of the texts you're referring to, I was just like, damn, he hates fat people, huh? There's just like a bunch of characters who were introduced early on where like their one trait is fat, and it's inherently funny, and then like later one of them gets skinny, and it's just like, can you imagine if a fat person was human? Wouldn't that be wild if they were no longer fat and thus like worthwhile? And it's like, what the fuck is your problem, dude?
You now understand. Can you now have a little bit of a greater context for the whole Yamato debate, where you're just like, thanks, Oda, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other conversation. So as far as I can tell, because I listen to the show and I keep up with the discourse, your show. So I know about Yamato, who seems like a cool character. It's cool that, you know, he exists and such. But also, you don't need every representation to be like quote unquote perfect. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's fine if trans people exist in messy environments where, you know, not. It doesn't have to be like, oh, everyone is valid and good and everyone, hero and villain, respects you and it treats you perfectly. It's more like when the author's views kind of bleed over. You know what I'm saying? Like, Oda seems to think Yamato is cool. And in what I've read so far, they seem to think being fat is like a moral failing and like inherently gross. And it's not like the character's opinion. It seems like Oda's opinion, at least in what I've read so far.
These are strong thoughts. I like this. Austin with big views.
There's a lot more. I'm sure some more complex characters show up who are heavier later. Maybe it's not as gross. That was just the thing that I noticed. Also, just like there's this whole build up to in the Arlong Park arc where the villain has terrible to Nami, and you think Nami's gonna get to fight him, and then she just doesn't. Like, someone else gets revenge, I guess, on him. I don't know. It's just weird. And then you're like, yeah, women characters is a complex, problematic thing in One Piece. And it's like, obviously it rocks. Like, I'm nitpicking because there are only so many ways to say, like, it's cool when the funny characters are fun and do fights. and it's there's more to talk about when you're talking about little nitpicks and negatives. But I do like it. But
There you go. I'm excited to keep hearing your thoughts. You're coming up on Alabasta, which is sort of like Outrun Park is where everybody tends to be like, all right, that's where One Piece becomes amazing. And then the next time it happens, people say is Alabasta, and that's where shit gets pretty real. Because that's the first like major, I guess, saga to One Piece, where there's like several arcs that are kind of slow build-ups. And you're coming up on Chopper soon, Drum Island, I think.
that's exciting. I know it's a little guy.
Yeah. Oh, and when you see the old lady from that arc, imagine Jamie Curtis maybe playing her.
Oh fuck yeah, they're doing a live action movie.
If it survives live action TV series, how dare you? Netflix is gonna put a lot of money into this for it to probably get canceled just as quickly as Cowboy Bebop did, but they're gonna do it.
Yikes! Yeah, I saw the photos of like the sets and stuff. They like actually built the restaurant and
Barati,
yeah. So I mean, they're trying, which is more than I can say about the Cowboy Bebop show, which did not seem like they were trying particularly hard.
Does it hurt you at all in your soul to know that I've seen more of the Cowboy Bebop reboot than Cowboy Bebop?
When I was younger, that would hurt me. Now I'm just like, it's your life. You do whatever you want. It's like the Cowboy Bebop was good, but like I don't think you're like living a lesser life from not having seen it. It's just like good. It's whatever. We started the Netflix reboot, live action reboot, and my partner was just like, "Can we turn this off? Like this is bad and like in a way that no other thing we ever watched. Like we've watched some fucking garbage together. This is like the one time where she's like, I can't handle how bad this is.
You're like, anything else, please? I'll sit in silence.
It
the other option.
It was a bad time.
All right, so we're about to wrap up. However, I thought Nick's not here, so we knew whatever the fuck we want. So I wanted to really quickly talk about Jujutsu Kaisen, which we can't talk about on the show because Nick watches it, and he's like, it's a very precious thing I share with my significant other, and I'm like, fine, you fucking nerd, but people want us to talk about it. So I was going to talk about the newest chapter to Jujutsu Kaisen, chapter 188, Tokyo number 2, Colony Part 7, but it's so hard to talk about because they're in the middle of a battle in the middle of a giant arc, which is the part of a larger saga to which I don't have the context for, and it's Jujutsu Kaisen, so I think the current character's power is something gacha based. Like he does like gacha pulls and it gives him better luck or some shit like that. It's fucking wild. I can't explain it. It's dope though.
Yeah, I've been meaning to get around to Jujutsu Kaisen. It's supposed to be good, obviously, and there's an anime out. We'll maybe after Lost and Severance, we'll get to that. Oh. But isn't that also a series where someone has a weird hand? I feel like
he eats fingers. His hand is fine. He eats the fingers of a bad guy, and the fingers are full of power, and eating those fingers makes him more evil.
Okay. I was thinking about Alien Area and Parasite, which are series about people with weird hands. I was like, isn't there another one? And then I for some reason I thought Jujutsu Kaisen was also a weird hand series.
Well, it's actually kind of like a thing in manga in general, and shonen manga, like the character kind of a lot of time has punch powers because that's a way to show a lot of violence that isn't like obscenely graphic. Like if your character just shoots a sword all the time, they have to fight monsters, something like that. Otherwise you're cutting people's faces off. But characters have punch powers all the time. Luffy has punch powers. Goku generally punched people. Itadori's special ability is punching people, basically. Like it's a thing in many series, basically, of like characters having like fist-based kind of fighting styles. So
yeah, I was thinking about that the other day because like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles always fought like robots, so they could cut them and it wouldn't be like gory or anything. And I was thinking about this specifically because I watched an Indian movie called RRR, where the heroes kill so many British people that it would be like horrifying if they weren't treated like inhumanly. Like the way the movie frames British people as if they are non-human, and it was hilarious. I mean, they definitely deserved it if you know anything about the history of British colonialization in India. But I was like, the white people in this movie are essentially soulless robots who exist to be butchered, and it's funny. Like, it's not a horror movie. And so if punch powers is what gets us there, I can see you have to frame it as like the violence is fun. It's not scary.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap this up now. Unless you want to just talk about Magic the Gathering for like 20 minutes.
I mean, Double Master spoilers are happening right now. I don't really need an Imperial seal, so I don't know how you're feeling about any of these reprints.
I don't really. At this point, I'm like, if I make a deck, I'm either just gonna trade up my stuff to get it, or just do proxies because I've come to the point where I give very little shits anymore.
Nice.
The only thought I had was like, do I ever want to draft this set? Because this is going to be like a fucking $40 draft.
Oh, it's going to be incredibly expensive.
And then to like fucking just open up fucking, I forget what I saw. There were definitely some like dog shit rares, and I'd be so angry. I paid like $12 for a pack, and my fucking rare is just like Deathbringer Liege. Like, fucking...
Yeah, they're reprinting the whole Liege cycle from Shadowmoor Lorwyn, and those are all like dollar cards. In
At rare, by the way.
In your $250 box or something. But yeah, it's basically a lottery. It's a lottery set. Either you get like mana drain and you make money, or you don't and you lose money. And
get fucked.
I am simply not about that life. I don't draft in paper. Only on Arena, where I don't pay for it. In paper, I really only play Commander, and so I don't think I need any of these cards. If they reprint Solitude, if you know from the Modern Master set, I would like one of those.
See, that seems like a good thing to reprint. But how about Fire Song and Sunspeaker?
Yeah, they're reprinting a bunch of pre-con commanders like Fire Song and Sunspeaker and Gave, the Spore guy and stuff. And it's like, yeah, I guess there wasn't any other way to get them besides the pre-cons. That makes sense, but I don't think they're worth anything.
Someone, by the way, in the chat is asking about the Warhammer 40k cards, which I am super stoked about. For anybody who's curious, Magic the Gathering has started up a new line, I guess, called like Worlds Beyond, which is the idea that they will create products based around properties they don't own. It's not part of the Magic universe, doesn't connect to it anyway. It's just, hey, you like Walking Dead? Here's Walking Dead cards. They did it with Secret Layers, but now it's going to be full-on products, starting with a Warhammer 40k set of Commander decks, and there's going to be a full Lord of the Rings, like, playable set of Magic cards, I think, next year. But what makes me so excited for this is that they're getting the 40k decks, but there's going to be a Secret Layer for Blood Bowl cards. And I'm so fucking stoked for that. I just want the dumbest fucking bullshit cards. We've just covered in orcs with their heads exploding as a football rolls past, because that's all Blood Bowl should be.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's a lot of people are mad about like sullying the brand with other IP, but I mean, Magic is just kind of a bunch of different games wearing the same trench coat, and you can play any one of those if you want. You can just play Modern, just play Commander, just play Warhammer 40k pre-cons. You get to have the fun, but however you want. So
and the idea is that any mechanically unique cards they make for these different properties, they intend to. It's Hasbro, so unfortunately some things happen when they want to. But they're going to create a setting agnostic version of that character. So if they print, fucking, Abaddon the Destroyer or whatever, or Khorne the Blood God, they're going to be like, all right, well, there's also Schmigglepoop from fucking Ixalan, and it does the same thing.
Yeah, they did that with the Stranger Things cards. They have followed through on that so far. Well,
now,
we'll see.
It is still worth noting there were mechanically unique cards that were made for the Walking Dead one, and that hasn't come out yet. If you want one of those cards, you have to get the Walking Dead Secret Layer, which you can't get anymore, so you have to buy it secondhand market. It's not a great system sometimes.
Where's my generic Rick?
Yeah.
I need Rick, Steadfast Leader, but in the Magic setting. $50 for that card, my word.
Yeah. Well, it was when the only way to get it was to pay $60 or however much the first Secret Layer was. It's brutal.
Just do meth. Don't fuck with Magic. You don't need this in your life.
It really gets bad.
If you have money, just spend it on drugs. Be normal.
All right. With that said, let's get to the MVP and chapter of the week for this week. Austin, what was your favorite series in MVP this week?
I think this is pretty easy. I feel like the best chapter. I mean, obviously we agreed earlier it was Doron Dororon,
Yep.
but
Ron.
that was more of a show pick. My personal pick. I actually think, and this surprised even me. Blue Box was my favorite chapter of the week.
Wow.
I think it set out to do a specific thing and nothing else, and it nailed it. It had like a focus and a flow to it, which I had just earlier described as like almost poetic. And I think that was the best expression of any one idea that any of the chapters did. So
Okay.
that's definitely my chapter of the week.
That's pretty awesome. What's your character of the week? Because I'm just gonna go through everything afterwards.
Oh, I mean, so we had a long conversation about the Akane-banashi the accent thing, and I have to be honest that the thing I'm most interested about is like where Hikaru's character is gonna go. That's the lady who was pretending like she was a city girl, Hikaru Kuragi. I just looked it up.
Ooh, look at you doing research.
So my character of the week, the one I am genuinely most interested in following is her. Is she going to be a villain who's like driven by resentment about how she's treated? Is she going to learn that actually her accent's cute? As Akane said, Akane, a woman of taste,
Yes.
understands that an accent is cute and good and not to hide it. I mean, I would give it to Akane every week, honestly. I got to mix it up and say, it's got to say Hikaru for me.
All right. I'm gonna give my character of the week. I'm going to give to Aramaki from One Piece. I am such a whore for when Oda introduces like a cool new big character, and this is kind of like the last big surprise in One Piece. Was like we didn't know the identity of the Fifth Admiral, just been teased, and now we get to see the design and everything like that. And it's pretty cool. So I really liked Aramaki a lot. For my chapter of the week, I think I'm gonna give it to. I think I'm gonna give it to Akane-banashi. This is like a real. Actually, you know what?
Oh, swerve! They were reaching out for the trophy, and he snatched it away.
I'm gonna give it to Mashle. It may not have been funny, but it was kind of dope.
Oh my god!
You can't take it from me. I'm struggling to think if there's like one chapter that really kind of stood out this week.
It was probably one of the ones you didn't let me read.
It was my year. It was amazing. If only we could have talked about it.
Jiro got her tits out.
Actually,
I'm not allowed to read
sorry,
it.
what? I'm gonna give it to. Fuck it. It's my show. I can do whatever I want. Put Ninja. Put Jujutsu Kaisen in there. I'm giving it chapter of the week. It was the best chapter I probably read of the bunch. I just couldn't explain it very well.
Somewhere Nick just feels that something has gone wrong. He just gets a sinking feeling.
His back spasms. Nick picked Undead Unluck for his chapter of the week, and then Taiki from Blue Box as his character of the week. And the audience picked One Piece as their chapter of the week, and Buggy from One Piece, who is not actually in the chapter, is just referred to in the chapter as the character of the week because everybody's so stoked to find out what Buggy's doing.
That's a Chad move by the audience, picking Sir not appearing in this film. That rocks.
So that is going to do it. So we got to do the rundown, which I don't have memorized, so I'm just going to be fucking loosey-goosey in this. Thank you, everybody, for watching Weekly Manga Recap. This week we record every episode every Wednesday at 7:30, 8 o'clock Eastern, right here, twitch.tv/RoloT. If you would like to follow our host, you can follow me at RoloT, and you can follow Austin at Austin Yorski.
Very easy to find. Austin Yorski everywhere. Patreon.com Austin Yorski is where the show DiceFunk lives. I'm on it. You're usually on it. Not this moment, but most of the time.
Maybe
statistically.
One day. Maybe one day. Not if I have a choice. Also, he is not on this episode, but Nick will be back next week. So also make sure to follow Nick F Time on Twitter as well to follow his thoughts. I want to give a special thanks to all the amazing people who make this show possible. The new frame that you are seeing around this episode was made by Molderman in our Discord, which I highly recommend you go check out, guys. Our Discord is an absolutely, it's a phenomenal thing. And I want to say this just truthfully. Getting to know the community in our Discord has been the greatest joy that this podcast has given me. So I want to thank you guys. Actually, no, wait, sorry. I used some of the money you guys have sent me to take a ride on a video motorcycle. So actually, that was the greatest thing.
Allergic to earnestness. Cannot be vulnerable.
That's a true story. I had a dream and told this joke in it, and I woke up and wrote it down because I was like, gotta use it in real life. It made me laugh so much.
You're such a dirtbag.
I have dreams about doing it. I don't know why it made me laugh so much. I don't know what a video motorcycle is. Like, not even I took a ride on a regular motorcycle, like a virtual one.
Yeah, I just took your word for it that meant something. I was like, oh, I've never heard of that.
I think that's the dream part where I was like, what the fuck's a video motorcycle? But it sounded cool until I thought about it, and I was like, it just makes me like it hard. But I want to thank Molderman from our Discord for creating this. I also have one next week that I'm going to start using with Wensleydale Cheddar. I just need Nick actually around to format the screen a little bit better, but you might see some of these popping in and out just as a special thanks for both of these being created. I also would like to thank Wensleydale Cheddar for creating the animated intro along with Milo Jack Stillitz to see at the front of all these videos. I'd like to thank Steve Man, our title card artist. You can find his work at Steve Man Art on Twitter, and also where boobs are allowed to be drawn on the internet. And a big thanks to Ninja X3i for maintaining the Google Doc that we use to rank all of the series, get everybody's MVPs, get our recommendations, all of that great stuff. It is excellent and greatly enjoyed. So thank you all for your very strong work. And I'd like to thank you, Austin, for coming on this show so I didn't have to sit here all alone talking to myself in a room again.
It's my pleasure. And people say that all the time, but I actually mean it. This is fun. I like having a space to derail your show. Just commit Nick to reading series, whether he likes it or not.
He has no choice. He's going to come back. He's going to be like, God damn it, Austin.
If you need a tiebreaker for Ruri Dragon, yes, continue reading it.
No, no.
I don't know. Who knows? What could happen? It could be fun.
Austin might come back next week. Who knows?
Whenever you need me.
You can't next week, right? You're actually not available.
Fuck. You've proven me a liar in front of everyone. Now, this would be very funny if I traveled to Florida to meet my nephew for the first time. My sister had a baby. That's why I'm leaving. And I'm like, shut that fucking baby up. I have to talk about manga on the internet.
I have to guest on a podcast.
They need to know what I think about the new chapter.
Not even that it's your podcast, that you have to guest on somebody else's podcast. That's what's very funny to me.
Yeah, the miracle of life, the family, blah, blah, blah. But what's going to happen in Undead Unluck?
We're talking about another serious chapter of Mashle. Shut that baby's pie hole.
All right. Thank you for having me. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And so I'll see you next time.
Yep, that's Austin signing off.